democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Narmeen Sheikh in New York with Amy Goodman in Washington, D.C. Northern Gaza is being wiped off the map. That's the warning from Oxfam and 35 other humanitarian groups who say Israel's siege on northern Gaza has reached a, quote, horrifying level of atrocity. Earlier today, Israel's military bombed an UNRWA school in Jabalia, housing hundreds of displaced Palestinian families. Al Jazeera reports the death toll from the attack has climbed to 25, with many children among the dead. As Israel continues its siege on northern Gaza, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin sent Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a letter Sunday threatening to cut off U.S. military assistance if Israel does not boost humanitarian aid access to Gaza within the next 30 days. The Biden administration has continued to arm Israel despite findings by its own experts at USAID and the State Department that Israel has routinely impeded delivery of food and medicine to Gaza in violation of U.S. law. Politico has revealed that in August, Biden's special envoy for Middle East humanitarian issues, Lise Grand, met with leaders of more than a dozen aid organizations and directly said the U.S. would not suspend arms to Israel. One person who attended the meeting told Politico, quote, she was saying that the rules don't apply to Israel. Grant also reportedly said the United States will not, quote, hold anything back that they want. We are joined now by Josh Paul. He's a former veteran State Department official who resigned in protest of the push to increase arms sales to Israel amid its assault on Gaza. He's a former director in the Bureau of Political Military Affairs in the State Department. On Wednesday, he and Tariq Habash, who resigned in protest from the Education Department, announced the formation of a new lobbying organization and a political action committee called A New Policy to push for Washington to take a new approach on Israel-Palestine. Josh Paul, welcome back to Democracy Now! We'll talk about this new organization and the pact that you've formed. But first, if you could respond to the letter that Austin and Blinken sent to Netanyahu, what it said and what it means that they gave Israel 30 days. Of course, in 30 days, that's after the U.S. elections will take place and a new administration will be in power.
Yes, thank you, Amy, and good to join you this morning. So I want to clarify to begin with that the letter that that Blinken and Austin sent to their counterparts in the Israeli government didn't actually threaten to cut off arms or to suspend security assistance. It simply said that there could be consequences under National Security Memorandum 20 and under US law. What those consequences are, I think remains to be seen, if at all. We have seen repeated expressions of concern from the United States government over the course of the last year. And yet what this letter makes clear in its detail, and it is a detailed letter. It lists, I believe, 15 steps the United States would like to see Israel take to facilitate the entry of humanitarian assistance into Gaza. What it does by doing so is demonstrate that the US is currently in breach of its own laws. US law says the US cannot provide security or any form of assistance to a country that is restricting the delivery of US-funded humanitarian assistance. Here we have, in writing from this administration, a list of the ways in which Israel is doing so, and yet US military assistance continues to flow. And of course, nowhere in the law does it say, give them 30 days to see if they can fix it. The law is very clear that when it is made known to the president that assistance is being restricted, US assistance cannot be provided. So I think that there is, plenty of reasons for skepticism here. And of course, while people are starving on a daily basis in Gaza, dying of malnutrition, the time for this to be fixed is now. The time for it to be fixed was actually almost a year ago, but it is certainly now, not in 30 days.
So, Josh Paul, if you can talk, although you left the State Department protesting U.S. policy on Israel, and you were the person who approved weapons sales within the State Department, you clearly still have contacts within the State Department. Can you talk about what people are saying? I mean, everything from the revelations of ProPublica, also us speaking to other people who quit over reports coming out of the State Department saying clearly Israel is cutting off, preventing humanitarian aid from coming in, and yet Blinken turns these reports around. What people are saying, are there more resignations within the State Department? And what the U.S. accomplishes, since Netanyahu is such a clear ally of Trump and wants him to win, yet Biden still embraces him, supports him, and even with this warning letter, as you said, the election will happen by the time they were to cut off aid if Israel doesn't comply with what the U.S. is demanding.
Yes, that last part in particular has been a bit of a mystery to me, and I think lots of other people, because it has been very clear that Prime Minister Netanyahu has long had a preference for the Republican Party and for President Trump. He made that clear again when he came to Washington. He has made that clear in running rings around President Biden repeatedly over the course of the last year. So what the thinking there is on the part of Democratic strategists, I just can't fathom. With regard to how things are playing out within the State Department, it's actually been a year to the day since I handed in my resignation at the State Department. And there was a significant increase in dissent, in protest within the department in the initial months of this conflict. I think the challenge is that none of that really led to any policy, or policy changes, because what we have is a very tightly controlled set of decisions that are being made on a very political and politicized basis from the very top levels of the US government. You noted that, within the State Department, there has been increasing transparency and pushes from USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development, and from, for example, the Bureau of Population, Refugees and Migration, to submit to Secretary Blinken evidence that Israel is restricting US-funded humanitarian assistance. I think it is worth noting that when ProPublica's piece came out 2 weeks ago, reporting that these reports had gone to Secretary Blinken and he had cast them aside, that report also noted that one of those officials, Julieta Valeta Noyes, Assistant Secretary for Population, Refugees and Migration, had been asked if she felt that Section 620I of the law that says we cannot provide assistance in these circumstances had been triggered. Her initial response was yes. When she was pressed, she backed down. I think it's worth noting that she quietly resigned a week ago, shortly after the ProPublica story came out. So I think there is a degree still of concern and certainly of shame amongst higher level officials. I know that amongst lower level officials, there is immense pain. I've heard from people in the last week saying they don't know if they can do this any longer. At the same time, I think there's also a feeling of desperation, and that there's really nothing under President Biden that can be done or can be changed from the inside on this issue. So people are waiting to see what happens next and what happens after the election.
And do you see, from your vantage point as an insider, any space between Biden and Harris?
I think that's very hard to say. Certainly, Vice President Harris, as a candidate, has not given us much evidence that there is any space. On the contrary, she has said repeatedly that she will continue the policies set by President Biden, including of unconditional support for Israel. There are people around Vice President Harris. Her policy team are, I think, different than those around Biden. And I think as well that Harris is not the ideologue on this issue that President Biden is. But I do think that what we face here is a deep-rooted and very entrenched set of political economic incentives that will make it very hard for anyone to change US policy in this regard, regardless of the outcome of the election or of this election. This is something that is going to take a long time to resolve and a lot of effort. And to get to the point that you opened our session with, that's why Tarek Habash and I and a group of extraordinary, remarkable leaders, including former US Ambassador to Syria, Robert Ford, have created a new policy. This is a lobbying organization and a political action committee founded on the idea that what we face here is actually not a policy problem. We know what the policy problems are. The people in government know what the policy problems are. What we face here is a political problem. And until we fix the politics, until we play within this ugly system that we have to make it work in the interests of the American voters, the American people, American values, and the interests of all of the people in the region, we are not going to make headway. So that is what we are out to do.
And Josh Paul, if you could also respond to recent reports that suggest that Israel will launch retaliatory strikes against Iran within the next 3 weeks, that is to say, before the U.S. election. And although the Biden administration has reportedly won assurances from Israel that they will not attack Iranian nuclear or oil sites, of course, the implications of this would be enormous. If you could respond to that and how you think the Biden administration would respond in the event that Israel does attack Iran.
Well, so let's first of all remember that the Biden administration also won assurances from Israel back in April that it would conduct itself in accordance with international humanitarian law and not restrict the flow of humanitarian assistance in Gaza. So I'm not sure how much assurances from Israel at this point are worth or how credibly they can be taken. That said, I think that one of the things that is empowering Prime Minister Netanyahu in this situation is his knowledge that America has Israel's back, that no matter what Israel does, we have deployed now a terminal high-altitude air defense system, a THAAD system, which is our most capable and most expensive air defense system to Israel. We have deployed several squadrons of U.S. fighter jets. We have deployed U.S. Navy ships. And I think that the problem there is that we create for Prime Minister Netanyahu this ability to escalate without concern of the repercussions, and indeed, if anything, a certain attraction one can imagine to him of getting America involved in a conflict with Iran that he has long craved. So I think these are indeed very dangerous times, particularly as we lead into a U.S. election here.
Finally, Josh, a New Policy, the name of your new organization, a New Policy's website says the United States policy in the Middle East should comply with American laws, reflect American values, advance peace and prosperity for all Americans. Are you saying now that the U.S. is breaking U.S. law?
So not only am I saying that the U.S. is breaking U.S. law, but I've actually heard, as have others who I'm working with, from members of Congress behind closed doors, who will say, we believe that what Israel is doing with our weapons amounts to war crimes, but we won't say that publicly. What a New Policy's mission ultimately is, as Tarek Abash said today in the magazine Semaphore, is to change that, is to fix that, is to make it so that U.S. elected officials can vote in accordance with their voters' preferences, with their constituents' interests, with American interests, with American values, and with American law. We need to remove these structural roadblocks and these financial, frankly, roadblocks to our democracy and to the enforcement of our law. So if all of your listeners or viewers would like to visit, we're at www.anewpolicy.org, and happy to continue the conversation there as well.
Thanks so much, Josh Paul, former director in the Bureau of Political Military Affairs in the State Department. He resigned in protest last year. He's just launched a lobbying group called A New Policy. Thanks so much for joining.
But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing the Tampa market.
In Northeast Africa, precisely on the Horn of Africa.
But the local farmers.
All right. Once again, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, anywhere you are. This is Frank Malba, and this is the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series as part of WCC every Sunday at 1 p.m. Welcome me all this afternoon, and I think we're going to have a great time. Hopefully, we might not take long. I mean, I usually say that, but we still take long. All right. So today's topic says, is corruption in U.S. democracy? Is there a corruption in the U.S. democracy, right? And then into parentheses, it says, let's discuss. Now, and then it also says, message of the African youth. But before we go further, right, let's go back to the video we just watched, because I use that video as my thesis. Now, we never play all the video, right? But the part that you listening to, let me ask a question. If only you were listening, and I know you did, from that video that you watch and you listen to, is it true that the U.S. have a democracy? Is it true? Just from the video you watch, is it true that the U.S. have a democracy? Is it true that the US is the center of democracy of the world? Now, my point of discussions today, let me make this clear. It's not because we want to understand the US democracy, or it's not because we want to promote the US democracy. We cannot promote the US. The US can only promote herself, and which of course she has been doing that over decades, over centuries, right? But my question here is, I want us to understand where we are, right? Where we've been and where we are and where we are going as Black people or as African people around the globe. Does the US, first of all, does the US have a democracy? Because from the video that we watch, like I said, I'm not going to use my own opinion, right? We use their video and their articles to bring awareness. Now, somebody may say, then what is the importance of discussing this? The importance of discussing this is because African leaders, African nations have not yet understand the policy or the principle of the US when it comes to democracy. African leaders, African nations think that the US, in quote, actually practice democracy. They think that the US is actually the capital city or the center point or the orbit point of democracy. But the reality is the US is not a democratic nation, is not a democratic institution or entity, the US. They talk about it, but just because they talk about it, that doesn't mean they are. Now, if again, the US was a democratic nation, right? Like you heard from the video, what did the individual say? We are creating an entity. We are creating a branch. I'm just paraphrasing it, right? We are creating an entity. We are creating a branch. We are creating an organization, right? So that the constitution, the belief, the practice of that organization will be solely based, right, on the mandate of the American people, on the interests of the American people, on how American people vote will manifest their interest, on how the American election will be conducted. You listened to the video. You listened to the video. So if the US practices democracy, why will people come out again to form another organization that the citizen vote will reflect on what they vote for? So does that mean the citizen vote have not been reflecting on what they vote for? So does that mean the citizen vote, where they go and cast their vote, right? And then they say this person is the winner. Does that mean it have not been reflecting? Does that mean the leader of America have been selected already before the vote? I'm just explaining, but you listen to the video. So does that mean the government have not been working in the interest of American people? Does the US actually have a democracy? Why will you create a democracy in a democracy? African leader, you're listening. This is for you people. This is not about discussing the US democracy. This is about you guys opening your mind to see, because you guys like to come to the US, everything democracy. You guys like to come to them for advice on how to practice democracy. So this is for you people. And this is for you so-called advocates who believe not in your democracy, but believe in outside democracy, to institute that into your democracy or into your nation. This is for you people. Because the nation you depend on, this is a nation that is struggling. This is a nation that is still fighting to defend democracy. This is a nation that is still struggling to identify, not even to defend, but to identify How can a nation that you claim to be the center of democracy, but it is a nation that is still identifying, fighting to identify if they even have democracy, or if what is they're still fighting to identify it. They're fighting to identify it. Now, not only that, look at what was said in our report. Oh, US. This is a complete mockery, and this is what exactly they've been doing to the African continent. Create proxy war, loot our resources, and then use part of that resources, and then use the United Nations, and then use the WFP, and then they bring food for us while they are doing a proxy war, carrying ammunition. That's what they did in Liberia. That is what they do in DRC. That is what they do in Sudan. That is what they're doing around the African continent. Create these crises, okay? Because the more we are in crisis, who told you they don't want to see us in crisis? The more they exploit us, the more they treat us the way they want to treat us, the more they get our resources. Because all that will come to our mind, it won't be about development, it won't be about progress, but it will be about survival. And the survival will be based on they bring food for others. Oh, look at what it said in our report. The United States carrying aid to Gaza, but how they call it? But Asia block aid. That is complete hypocrisy. But at the same time, look at what it said in the report. The United States said she will never stop supporting Asia with military. You giving Asia military aid, giving the army ammunition. Are you not empowering these people? So why would they stop aid from going to Gaza? And then you have problem with it. That's a double standard. US, what are you talking about? And you said, right? Like in a report, it said the US cannot support, how they call it, other nation, right? Against other people. But then it said, this does not apply to Israel. In a report that they were giving it. But this does not apply to Israel. Is this something that I'm telling us? African leaders, this is for you people. And the so-called believer of the West, this is for you people because you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in your things. And when we talk about self-fulfillment of African people, then you go against it and say, no, the world cannot function like that. The world cannot function well. Only Africans focus on African things. No. But other people are focusing on their thing, on them. And the world still functioning. But when you tell an African to unite, say, no, why would we unite? We can't unite with other people. The world is a global society. But if the world is a global society, those that preach that message, they don't practice it. How can you supply Asia with ammunition, with support of finances, but then you say Asia block food aid from going to Gaza? Okay, so did the people tell you they can't feed themselves? Did the people in Palestine tell you they can't feed themselves if there is a peace? Did the people tell you that in Gaza they cannot feed themselves if there is a peace? The only way they will survive if there is a war, then you carry food for them? If you have to ask the people in Gaza or Palestine, war being in a nation, and then the US bringing food to them, that Asia can block them, but Asia continue to bomb them, kill them, which one do they prefer? When they say, no, we want for Asia to be bombing us so that the US can bring our food, but Asia should not block the importation of food or the coming of food, or they will say, we want peace. We can feed ourselves. We can support ourselves. What would they do? What would they take? And then you got the guts to sit on national media. In a way, it's not them, but kudos to them to bring a report of what is happening behind the scene. But this is for the US. Why will you support Israel to go cause damages? That's a mockery to then take food and carry to the people. That's a mockery. They don't need that. They need peace. They don't need interference. They don't need you to support them. I mean, to support their enemies, to go kill them. Then you take food, carry to them. They don't need that. And that's the same thing they do on the African continent. That is the same thing they do on the African continent. If not, why are they against the AES nation? And the AES nation, we will continue to mention them because they are the starting point of total liberation. Because look, the independence that we had in Africa in the 60s, now, I'm not going to take credit from those people, at least, that fought to establish that. But the reality here is, independent in the 60s, they were not independent. But they gave us a path to independence. That wasn't independent, but they gave us a pathway to independence. But then those who came after those people who paved the way to the path of independence, those people came and destroyed that path. Those people came and destroyed the road. Those people came and damaged the path. And we had them on the African continent calling themselves leader like Nana Akufo-Addo, William Ruto, Al-Assad, the Benin president, and all these puppets. They destroy the path of freedom, of independence. I don't even know if they understand what independence is. So the discussion is for them. It's not about to come here and discuss about the American democracy. We just bring it a way for them to see the people they run into. Because they themselves, they do not understand democracy. Even the citizens themselves do not understand democracy. They don't even think the US is a democratic nation, and which is true. You see how they struggle. And the people you watch in the video, these are not just ordinary people. These are people already who are out there. These are people who know the system. These are people who work in the system. I mean, when I say the system, I mean deeper into the system. And they don't have come out to tell you the US is not a democratic state or nation, because they are even creating an awareness or a way that the will of the people will reflect on the will, or the decision of the people will reflect on the will of the people, on the circumstances of the people. Let's continue to the topic. Now, the problem about WCC, we are a revolutionary channel. And as a revolutionary, we make people uncomfortable. We don't make it comfortable. Because the more we make it comfortable, the more you relax. And that's how America operates with black people in this country. The Democrat, to be specifically, or to be specific. Now, again, this is not a campaign against the Democrat or for the Republican, or against the Republican or for the Democrat. This is not a campaign. We are not running a campaign here. This is an educational platform. Let's move on. All right. Now, that has been clear. Let's move. Because there are a lot of things we're going to see here today. So let me make that disclaimer first before we go into it. Let's get started. Now, let's look at the first article. It's about Bill Gates. All right? We are here to expose. Okay? That's why we're here to expose. Because the lies have been told too much. And it is the lie that is misleading the world. It is the lie that is misleading Africans. It is the lie that is misleading African nation and the African continent. You see what happened in Haiti when the earthquake took place? What was that, 2008 or after 2008? When the puppet leader Obama and Hillary Clinton were in power, where Hillary Clinton was the vice president also, and Obama was the president, right? I think you know what I'm talking about. If I miss a date, but you already know what I'm talking about when the earthquake happened. What did they do with the funds that were collected? What did they do? They used an organization of a government. They use an organization of a government owned by Hillary Clinton, where all the funds of Haiti, millions of dollars, went into Hillary Clinton organization as an entity that will be used for the people of Haiti, all the funds that were donated. We're talking about millions of dollars. What did they do for the people in Haiti? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Because it was that government entity or that private organization owned by Hillary Clinton. And they went to Haiti and they put some tarpaulin with some plywood and then said that's a housing unit for the Haitian people. What a disgrace. So that's the same thing that is going on right now. But it's deeper than even Haiti. Does the U.S. have a democracy? Or does the U.S. democracy, or is the U.S. democracy corrupt? Now, the reason why we're breaking this, right? You African leaders, you Africans advocates, so-called African revolutionary who don't understand, let's go to you people. If you Google this or if you research this, you will never see CNN, BBC, ABC, and all the Western mainstream media talking about this in a negative way. You know why they don't do it? Because it will tarnish their nation, it will tarnish their government, it will tarnish their reputation of what they believe is democracy to the world. It will tarnish it. Had it been that this happened in Africa or this happened in an African nation, okay, well, an influential Africans, as we'll compare to Bill Gates, as we all know, we know the story, most hated story, most evil story when it comes to Bill Gates, right? Let's just say Bill Gates was an African man or a black man on the African continent who proclaimed to be a businessman, right? Now, and the Western world know that Bill Gates, now I'm using Bill Gates let's say we put Bill Gates on the African continent and Bill Gates is a black man. I want you to understand something here. Let's say we put Bill Gates on the African continent, or we put Bill Gates in an African nation, and Bill Gates is a black man, right? Now, the West know the issue of Bill Gates, evil, demonic, corrupt, right? As African already know, or as some African know, or as some black people know about the white Bill Gates. Now, then the black Bill Gates, election time in our nation, right? In our nation, the white Bill, that's the black Bill Gates, then take $50 billion, or let's say $50 million, sorry, that black Bill Gates take $50 million and give it to a nonprofit organization, all right? Because Bill Gates, that black Bill Gates, will not take the money directly and give it to the political institution, or and give it directly All right, we are back. The internet was kind of fluctuating. So let me get back to the point. We're going to read the article, but I want you to understand something here, right? So the black Bill Gates take $50 million, or took $50 million and gave it to a nonprofit organization as in support of a party that he supports, whether the Republican or the Democrat, which other party he supports. But that money that it passed to the nonprofit organization is not going to be used by that nonprofit organization. It's going to be used by the political institution like the Democrat. Why will you pass a money where that money purposely is for a political party, the Democrat, but you pass it through a non-profit organization, and then that non-profit organization will not disburse the money to the Democrat. That non-profit organization will not use the money for a campaign. Is that not? Let me ask before we even continue. Do you classify that as corruption or not corruption? Do you classify that as corruption or not corruption? Now, let's continue. Had it been that this happened in Africa, right? And mainstream media specifically is not in favor of that political party. Let's just say that, yeah, we saw a political party. Mainstream media is not in favor, or the West is not in favor of it, right? And Black Bill Gates took that money and passed it through a non-profit organization, and then that non-profit organization now will not give that money to the political institution. Let's put it that way. Mainstream media or the West who have gotten on it and published it and classify it as corruption. And in fact, the mainstream media was not going to go out, or the West was not going to go out and talk about the Black Bill Gates. And as we all know, even during COVID time, most people believe, I will put it this way, most people believe that COVID was not something from the universe. COVID was created. And by the way, let me say this even before we go. Do you see what is happening right now with the BRICS? There are a lot of things happening, but if you are not been researching and following and going alone, you will not get the puzzle. COVID-19 was funded specifically to control the world, to have one world order. Because these people knew what is coming. They knew what was coming. That is what an article that came out some 6-7 years back from the Pentagon. They said by 2030, because these people do their research ahead. And when they come out of a research, don't just think because they brought our report out, then that means it's going to happen. It will only happen if they do not act upon it. Or it will only happen if it will be in their interest or in their favor. But let me go to that article that came out from the Pentagon some 10 years ago. They said by the year 2030, about 4 in every human being you see walking, 1 will be Africans. And then they said by the year 2050, almost the entire world will be Africans. Now, just because the Pentagon came out of that report, do you think it's going to happen? Like I said, it will only happen if they don't act upon it, because it is not in their interest. It won't be in their interest. But if it were in their interest, in fact, they will support it. Why do you think they support gay and lesbians on the African continent in black nation? They don't go to the Middle East, or they don't go to China. They don't do those things, but only in black nation, because they know that by the year 2050, almost the entire world will be Africans. Why? These people, what is happening already? They saw it coming. They knew that there will be a split on the African continent, even though they have been split, but they knew the split that is coming and which is going on now. It will be a split if they don't act upon it to stop it at the earlier stage. It will be a split where Africa will rise. And if Africa rise, Africa already have the resources, Africa already have the manpower, Africans already have the brain, because the brain of the West, it is the brain of Africans. So if Africa rise, the brain of the West will no longer function, because Africa with Africans on Africans, an African nation. What then will happen? People will migrate to where they can afford life, to where life will be meaningful and conducive, and great. Who don't want good life? And if people migrate, what's going to happen? 1 drop of black, they say you are a black man, 1 drop of black blood, you are a black person, you are African. Then the loyalty will focus on Africa, on the African continent. Do you think these people will sit and see it happen? They will not sit and see it happen. They will not. So that report came out from the Pentagon, but something, and we reported on it several times. So do you think these people study to bring research out and then just sit down and don't add a point when they know it will not be in their interest? That is why they are fighting so hard to deviate the mindset of African when it comes to the BRICS. And even though today's discussion is not about the BRICS, but let me tell you this. With African nation allying with the BRICS, do you know what's going to happen? It gave you options. Because let me fall back. With African nation allying with the US, allying with Europe, it gave you no options. And these are factual, these are facts. Because what happened if we ally with US, if we ally with Europe? And this is not hatred, this is history, this is true. Now, if you come up with your idea, if you come up with your interest of your nation, the US said no. And you said, if you say no, then we ourselves, we will say no, because this is about our nation, this is about our continent. Then what the U.S. do? The U.S. put sanction on you. No choice. You can't go. They put sanction on you. And once the U.S. put sanction on you, what happened? These imperialists, these colonial nations are together. Europe support it. England will support it. France support it. Germany support it. And then the painful part about it, you use their currency to trade, to sell your resources. Then at the end, once US, Germany, France, England agree and come together, you can sell your resources again. You will be forced to sell it with a low price because their currency dominates and your resources value their currency. Now, on the other hand, with the BRICS, no one going to put sanction on you if you decide to sell your resources in your local currency. No one going to put sanction on you. Who going to put sanction on you from the BRICS to say, hey, Nigeria, you want to sell your currency in Naira, your resources in Naira, we're going to put sanction on you. You got to sell it in a BRIC currency. Now, first of all, let's make this. If there's a BRIC currency and you join the BRICS, right? And you join the BRICS, that currency will be used in your country. So that's the currency I'll be going with. So which other way you are in control of your resources? Because you still make demand for, you still make the, how they call it, determine the price, the value, and think you determine the price and the value. So no one will tell you, say, if you don't sell it in this, we'll put sanction on you because that is a currency that is being used for trading. It boosts your economy. But on the other hand, if the US say you cannot trade in your Naira or in BRICS, you got to trade in our dollar, and they put sanction on you, what you will do? And then, in fact, but because the fact that you trade in that dollar, they determine the price of your goods. Because if they say the resources of African nations or the continent, right, is valued, do you think they will come and tell you, say, your resources are valued than their currency? Absolutely not. So they will tell you their currency is valued than your resources. That pour you in an equilibrium or downward, because you will now sell your expensive resources cheaper to them and then bring it into their nation, and then after processing it, then they sell it to you higher price. Those are the things they are fighting you for, and you don't even know. It is not in your interest. So there is no democracy practice anywhere. It has been a lie told. No democracy anywhere. They do not believe in democracy. Because if they believe in democracy, they will never sanction you. They will never tell you, don't come to the US-Africa Summit. Only because you take a stand to be free. Isn't democracy is freedom? Isn't democracy based on freedom? So why will you take a stand to be free? And they say, no, you're not coming to the US-Africa Summit because you want to be free. There is no democracy. The US is not a democratic nation. They do not believe in it. They lie to you in order to continue to suck it out. If they believe in democracy, why in your nation, in your perspective, so-called nation, the person to whom the people believe in, the person to whom have the people support and vote, but if that person, the US or EU or the West, notice that that person will not be a puppet, why do they go against that person if they believe in democracy? Why do they go against that person? Why do they plot against that person? Why do they propagate against that person to remove that person or to make that person look bad to their people? Why? Because they do not believe in democracy, because they are not democratic nation. There is no democracy anywhere. So let me make this before we go to the article. Now, before you even go to vote, the American election now, these people have picked, they picked their leader already. They already know who's going to be the leader. What I do here is, because they portray to the world that they practice democracy, they put money into the campaign. More than even institutions. More than even your hospital in your community, in your township, in your neighborhood. And you know what I'm saying here is true. They put money into the campaign. Why? Because their government is based on propaganda. Now, you African leader, so-called African leader, open your ears and listen to wisdom. Open your ears and listen to wisdom. There's no democracy in the US. They put money into the campaign to convince people, because the leader that they pick, that's the leader they're going to sponsor. That's the leader they're going to put money into. That's the leader they're going to put on the stage. That's the leader they're going to talk about. And then they put money into it to make the other leader look ugly. The person they believe that will not serve the interests of the American hierarchy. It's not about you. But they will say, oh, the interests of American. If that is it, then why the first video we watched, somebody came out to say the interests of American are not being heard? You watch a video. But they will say, hey, it's about America. It's about this. And now, am I against it? No. Like I said, this is an educational platform to educate African people and the so-called bourgeoisie African leaders. It's not about what the American people do. I'm against it. No. That's how the people functions. That's how they do it. And which work for them. It worked for them. Fine. Good. But what worked for them, it may not work for you. And it have never worked for us. Now, because they have portrayed themselves to the world that they are the center of democracy, so they put money into the election to convince people, because they already finished picking their leader, the person they want in power. They already finished picking that person. Then they will pick that person to go, and the same thing they can do on the African continent. They find somebody, and then they say who will be in their interest, and then use that person and say, oh, this person will make a good leader for you. Are they telling us we cannot determine who will make a good leader for us? We cannot determine in our community, in our nation, on our continent, wheresoever we reside, we cannot determine who will make a good leader for us. Someone else have to come and tell us this person will make a good leader for you. We don't know that. That's the same thing they do here. But at the end of the day, tell me, which one of the African leaders around the globe, what on the African continent, but in African nation, which one of the African leaders that have been picked or supported by Europe or America or the West, and our African leader came and did a great thing and redeemed you and created a great society for you? Which one of the African nation? Name me one. Name me one. You will never name me one, because they have never been one. And that's the same thing they do here. We are educating. Open your ears, African leader. Open your ear. Why? So we can tell you. Because I don't think you have ear enough. So open it. If you can put your hand and hold it, let it stretch so that you can open it and hear it. And this is not only African leader, but the so-called Africans who believe in the West when the West speak, who think the only way they understand leadership is to come and do some conference in Washington, D.C. Call it Obama or conference or Obama or scholarship days or this or that. And then when they come, what better do they learn? And then go back on the African continent with that indoctrination. So open your ears. What they do in Africa, that's what they do here exactly. Now, when they finish control the minds of the people, then the people go to cast their vote. And then they go and vote for the person who have already been picked. That they present to the world, that they put money into the sponsor enough. Because they want for the world to see that, yes, this is the person that people supported. This is the person that people want. And this is the person that people voted for. And then you think in your perspective, African tiny little country, you think, yeah, that true, their country is a democratic nation. Look at the people voted for this. And the person won. But you don't know what's going on behind the scene. That person was already picked. That's how they do it. Now, since they knew or they know that these people always think ahead of time, they know that, okay, how about if we do this and it did not work? It comes to a point where the people, even though we put money into it, we present this person to the people, that this person is this, is that, but we did not still win the election. So they always has plan B. Okay, we did it, which is great, which is fun. But just in case it does not go that way, the way we want it, then what will be the next option? And that's how they came with the electoral college. That's how they came with the electoral college. Well, minority. I'm not saying the majority, because the majority is where everybody go vote. Then who win, and the person is supposed to go, right, and take the seat, right? No. So that's how they came with the majority, small number of people. Then go and make decision about the leader. So if the person that they want in power, it happened that person did not win, they go to the electoral college, where a small number of people still decide. Then what is the essence of having election? America is not a democratic nation. Open your ears. It is not. Leaders are already being picked. Before you get out there in cold, you get out there in line for 8 hours to go vote. Leaders have been picked. And it is all about interest. Because if the United States have a democratic institution or nation, it is truly a democratic nation, there should be no interest. A government where there's an interest, it is not a democracy. Because it should be about the people. So Bill Gates donating money to an organization to go to Kamala Harris. Is that democracy? It is an interest. So now the question is, why is Bill Gates donating that money, huge amount of money, such a money? Why didn't Bill Gates put that money in institution? Now, the black voters. Again, let me make this disclaimer. This is not about against Democrat or for Republican or whatsoever. No, because if that's the case, there are black people in the Republican as well. There are more black people in the Republican as well. Okay? So let's get that clear. Let's establish that first, and then before we proceed. Now, let's proceed. If it was about you, black people, because the reason why I'm specific on this, understand how Democrat, let me put it this way, how Democrat, right, turn to turn, this is not a campaign for a Republican or Donald Trump. I don't care. It's not about them. I'm educating my people here. Let's do this here. If it was about black people, so are you telling me the Democrat, because the way in which the Democrats preach against the Republican when it comes to racism, when it comes to bad governance, because the Democrat will always talk, when they talk about racism, the Democrat always say that the Republican. When they talk about bad governance, the Democrat will always say that the Republican. So, is the Democrat telling us the black people in the Republican are not African or are not black people? Because if it is about black, the question now go to you, if it is about black interests, why will Bill Gates donate $50 million to an organization to be used for Kamala Harris campaign? If it is about black people, what he did on the left-hand side should be done on the right-hand side. Now, that is mathematical equation, right? Because there are more blacks to in Republican, just as there are more black in Democrat. Now, I'm just saying this, right, so that you black Negro, so that you black puppet bourgeoisie as well in the U.S. can understand what is at stake. So if it is about black, now I'm not saying the money that was donated is about black, but I'm just letting you know the election is not about black. Where they can, oh, Donald Trump racist, Donald Trump bad, Donald Trump digs, Kamala Harris should go there. Let us be frank. If it is about black people, why didn't Bill Gates in the first place? Why would you want to donate $50 million for our campaign? Why can't you put our money in black institutions, in black colleges and universities that are struggling, in black healthcare system, in a community that they are struggling? Now, you black people, put this into your head, because after the election, you'll go right back. Your institution will be the same, and then now that's the time the Democrat will come to tell you, we never became president to fight for black community or to fight for black institution. No. I'm not just saying this. Obama sell it, Kamala Harris sell it, Biden sell it. When he said, if you not vote for me, then you are not African enough, right? He said it. And then when he became president, what did he do? They all said the same thing. But once he got there, they said, no, I did not become president for you. Get this thing clear. This is not campaign. You already know who you're going to vote for. And I'm not telling you this party X is good, this party X is bad. But it's an education platform. I'm just opening your mind to let you know that the $50 million that was donated to Kamala Harris campaign, don't be excited. It's not about you. It's not for you. Now, what is it for? Because that would be the question that you asked me, right? Friend, let's read this article. But no, we can read the article, you will not still get it. But what is it for? Let's get this clear. Now, you know, Donald Trump during COVID, you saw Donald Trump saying he doesn't believe in COVID, right? You saw Donald Trump saying COVID was created, right? And you saw them fighting the hierarchy. You saw Donald Trump fighting the hierarchy. You saw Donald Trump fighting Dr. Fauci. And you saw Donald Trump fighting Bill Gates. In a court, in a corridor. You saw Donald Trump fighting them. There's no sentiment here. Don't say, oh, friend, do you really support Donald Trump? With all Donald Trump been doing with female, with this, with that? Do you know what is? So are you telling me Democrats are doing the same thing? A lot of things going on behind the scene. This is the same thing they do to African leaders. When they don't want you, these are the same thing they do, and they do it here. So listen to this very carefully. I mean, be saying a stupid thing, and you think I'm saying a stupid thing is fine. But listen to this, so that tomorrow You'll be here. You will hold yourself responsible. You will not hold me responsible for not saying it. But you will be responsible for not listening. Daniel Trump fought these people to the extent he even taught the Bible right to the look. People may think Daniel Trump stupid because that's how the media have made you to think he's a psychopath, he's stupid, he's dead, he's that. But it was the same Daniel Trump that said, listen, what I'm doing here, this is what exactly these people think of you. These people say I'm racist. These people say I hate you. This is what they say about you. I am just being focused. They are not being focused, but this is what they do behind the scene. This is what they, Daniel, what did Daniel Trump say? He said, all the policy, I can't met this policy, and I'm going by it. I'm just being focused and doing it. But these policies were created by them. How long Donald Trump been in power? Since when Donald Trump came into government? What kind of policy Donald Trump passed? All these policies been there. But Donald Trump exposed them to you. They do not want it. They do not want black people to be educated to awaken. They don't want it. They don't want you to find out the truth. But here is a man that came while fighting them. Not only that, Daniel Trump told you he's not a globalist. He's a nationalist. So that means, now, that is not to say he's not going to carry on some policy of U.S. foreign policy. We know what Donald Trump been doing too as well. Because at the end of the day, like Malcolm X said, liberal, conservative, they are all the same. But the truth here is, Donald Trump do not operate as fully as how these people operate. Donald Trump leaves a loophole for people to see. He leaves a loophole. He don't not see all the hole. He leaves a hole open. I hope you get what I'm saying here. Donald Trump do not believe in a war order. So they are going to do everything possible. I am just opening your mouth to see about a $50 million. Bill Gates know that Donald Trump fought him. If Donald Trump come back, it's going to be all hell break loose. I mean, what you going to hear? Man. It's going to be different thing again. Now you're going to find out the truth about the COVID-19 that have been suppressed. You will see it and you will hear it and you will see the evidence. Because after Donald Trump, there have been research that have been done, but it is suppressed for you not to see it because they are there suppressing it. And people have the information, but they can't bring it out because they are scared for their life. You think they will bring it out? You think the $50 million that was donated is really for campaign purposes? To say, if for your interest, you must go there? You think so? This is not a campaign. I'm just opening your mind to see. It's about a one world order. Because the COVID-19 was supposed to be used to establish the one world order. But even as a president, he did not agree to it and the system fought him. You saw what happened on the African continent, like for example, the Tanzanian president. So money he was taking down to kill him. A hefty man who now believe COVID, boom, they dealt with him. He was gone. They took him down. They struggle to get the entire world to fall under that spell. They only wanted for the world to fall under that spell. That's all they was fighting for. But the world did not fall under that spell. So it was a problem for the one world. Because every decision that the U.S. made, if it was going to be, that was going to be the beginning of the one world order. Because these people knew what was coming. Then what they did, they created this virus And they used China because they knew how China, the emergence of China on the African continent and in the world. So they have to use China as the nation that was behind the COVID, that brought the COVID. Listen to this. They have to use China. But because China too is sophisticated, all right, in their own ways, they fought back. They fought back. And some meaningful people outside of China in the world who really want to know the truth, because people now are researching. People don't just believe in the mainstream media now. So it was tough for people to go with the narrative that, oh, China brought COVID, that China was the cause. In fact, it came from a lab. It came from this. That was the first calculated step. But they mixed it because the world did not react to it. The one world order was taking place, but the world did not react. They were working. And then after it did not work, the same Bill Gates came and said, the next virus that is coming, the next epidemic that is coming is going to be more than the coronavirus. The virus that is not yet here. The virus that nowhere, nothing. But he already came out to say the next virus coming is going to be epic. It's going to be more than the coronavirus. You must have already seen it. You must have already made a virus before you say it's going to be more than this. Okay, say the coronavirus did not work. I'm going to bring another one more than this. I'm going to strengthen it. Listen to this. And then the next in line was Russia. They knew the emergence of Russia coming out. And then Ukraine became a bit. And then they tried to use Russia to the war, to point Russia to the war. That did not work. So, the US democracy is not the democracy that you know. A lot of things going on behind the scene. Yes, we know Donald Trump did his things, but is he the only person that have done what they talk about so-called? And then, let me tell you this. They say he orchestrated the issue, June 6th, right? If it was true to him, don't you think by now they have indicted him? Don't you think by now he should be guilty, but he's not guilty? Nothing. Because there is no evidence that he did it. No evidence. This is not a campaign again for Trump, but I'm just telling you. So that you Africans can open your mind. There is no safe haven anywhere that can save you from your nation or from your African continent. Your savior is yourself. Your savior is the leader that is in power. And that leader should demand the needs of the people. That leader should stand for the people. You don't have to come to the overseas to seek validation. Do you see any African American leader going to Africa to seek validation? Do you see any American leader going to Europe to seek validation? Do you see any European leader coming to America or going to Africa to seek validation? Because you are nothing. You are just like a spittle unto them. Sorry to say this, but you are nothing, African. You are like a spittle. You know spittle, what spittle is? Like your spit, your bubble, you do the bubble flash in the air. You can't see that bubble again. You can't pick it up. You can't pick it up because it's a bubble of flash. It's gone. That's how you are in the eyes of these people. You are like a spittle. They will never need you. They have never need you. They don't need you to validate them. So why will African leaders have to come and get validation from the West or from America to prove that you are a good leader to your people? If there is any validation, it should come from your people. But because you so-called African leaders are corrupt, you want to seek validation from us. And the people you seek validation from, those are the people interests you're going to serve. Because you do not seek validation from your people, you will never ever serve your people. And then you want to come and tell us, say, oh, African nation, they are practicing democracy. What is democracy when validation does not come from your people, but it comes from us, it comes from the strangers? How can a democratic nation, a leader, validation come from the strangers and does not come from the people? Now let's go to the article. Sorry for taking long, but I really wanted to explain this so that you can see. Let's get to the article now. Where is it? Come out. Now, ooh, hold on. Let me see what happened here. Oh, okay. Let me go back. I think I just lost it. I touched something different. It's a touch screen. Okay, we get back. All right. Now, as you can see here, right? Let me take this out here. I don't want this. All right. I got this from the Guardian, okay? Or the Guardian, sorry. It says, Bill Gates says privately, listen to this. This is the real corruption. Bill Gates said privately, he donated $50 million to Kamala Harris campaign. He donated $50 million to Kamala Harris campaign. Private. Let's continue here. Bill Gates, who has not publicly endorsed, and this is something he has never done it, right? He been out of, he said he don't want to associate himself with politics. He want to be out. But then why this time around now he's coming? We already laid the premise, right? So I don't want to go there again because I'll be repeating myself and will be taking a long time. But let's continue here. Gates, who has not publicly endorsed Harris, reportedly expressed concern about a second-term presidency. Now, let's continue here. Bill Gates has reportedly said privately that he recently donated $50 million to non-profit organization supporting Kamala Harris. To non-profit organization supporting Kamala Harris. The non-profit organization is supporting Kamala Harris, so Bill Gates donated that money to them. Do you see corruption? Do you see broad daylight corruption? Now, you African leaders, you African reporters, you African advocates who don't understand what you need to advocate for. Had it been this was done on the African continent or in any African nation, then mainstream media had reported on it and then changed your story the way they want it. And they would have come here and say that is corruption. And then in fact, that would have been the end of that organization that received this money for Kamala Harris. That would have been the end, and that organization was never going to get overseas funding or overseas grants. Nothing. Is the U.S. democracy corrupt? Let's continue here. A non-profit organization supporting Kamala Harris, U.S. presidential run, remarking this election is different. Now, this is Bill Gates. Understand this. I already laid a premise. I don't want to go there. But Bill Gates said this election is different. Now, what makes this election different from previous election, Bill Gates? You African leader, this is for you people now. You African advocate or you African or reporters, this is for you people. What makes this election different? I already finished saying it. So you already know, right? I'm not repeating myself. But what I said earlier, that's what makes this election different. Let's continue here. Because this is a man that won. In fact, this man is behind the one world order. This man is behind the one world order. This election is different. Let's continue. I don't want to repeat myself. Let's continue here. Now, the people, three people briefed on the matter told the New York Times the donation was meant to stay on a wrap. The donation was made not to come out, not to be brought to the wall, not to be exposed. The donation was meant to stay on corruption. The donation was made privately, not to come out. Do you see how corrupt the United States system is? Do you see how corrupt the U.S. democracy is? But you so-called Africans, you do not believe in yourself. Nana Akufo-Addo, you do not believe in yourself. Tinubu, William Ruto, all of you guys are corrupt. And you report us on the African continent who don't report rightfully. All of you guys are corrupt. Do you see here? You see corruption? But you will never see mainstream media reporting on this. Had it been this was done in Africa or in African nation, this was going to be published. And African people was going to fall for it. Because once it comes from the West, that's it. But everything the West report mostly is against you. Be critical in your analysis, in your thoughts. Not everything that will come from the West, especially if it is a report about Africa and you're just taking a run with it. Let's continue here. Such a donation will mark a significant shift. Listen to this. Such a donation will mark a significant shift for the billionaire and Microsoft co-founder who has historically stay clear of publicly taking political stance. He have never done it, right? But the man told you this election is different. What make it different? Is it different because it's in the interest of black people or African people? Oh, so that means it have been in the interest of black people, right? Now you know it have now been your interest. It have now been about you. So now on still here, this is not about you. This election is not about you. That they have made you to believe Donald Trump is this. Because Donald Trump been like that. And Donald Trump was never in the picture. And your situation been like that. This election is different. Let's continue here. Now, in private, call this year to a friend. They never mention our friend name. Corruption, right? Bill Gates, who has not publicly endorsed Harry and does not have a deep relationship with Hart, has reportedly expressed concern about what a second listen to this. Has expressed concern about what a second Donald Trump presidency would look like. Do you think you so-called Negro is about you? It have never been about you. It will not be about you. This man is speaking in his interest. Is speaking for the hierarchy. Is speaking for the one world order. Is speaking for the demise of your nations. Is speaking for the demise of your continent, the African continent. If you don't know this, a source of familiar with the matter told the New York Times. This was Bill Gates, who expressed a concern about what a second Donald Trump presidency would look like. And this look like it won't be about your suffering. Since when have Bill Gates talked about black people suffering? Since when have Bill Gates expressed about the suffering, about the deep, how they call it, institution, right? Hospital. Since when Bill Gates have talked about it? In your community, in your counties. Since when? It's not about you. Corruption is deep into this. The Bill and Melinda Gates Philanthropic Foundation has allegedly expressed serious apprehension over possible reduction in family planning and global health initiative should Trump secure the presidency. Two sources with close tie to the foundation told the newspaper. Now, At the end of the day, do you see now how they narrow it down to you folks, you black folks? And man, Bill Gates, I believe, in depopulation of African people, to depopulate African. But he is here talking about this what's going to happen. And then, in fact, he's saying Donald Trump will be the cause of whatsoever, right? Family planning or something. But again, history tells us Bill Gates' mother was one of the founder or parts of family planning. They brought about family planning. And when they brought about it, specifically was in black community, black neighborhood, was about black women. Wasn't the same Bill Gates that went to Kenya that spore or how they call it, gave vaccine to women? And today, most of those Kenyan women can no longer give birth because he destroyed their wombs. Wasn't the same Bill Gates? Open your ears and your mind, everything. Bill and Melinda Gates Philanthropy Foundation has allegedly expressed serious apprehension over possible reduction in family planning. In all what he's saying, if, how they call it, Trump come into power, family will not be taking family planning. And that, they were already black people getting born enough. They were already Mexican people getting born plenty. They're going to born plenty. And meanwhile, our Bill Gates, my foundation is about depopulation. I don't want for the Mexican or the black people to born. Because we already said, if we don't take precaution, by the year 2050, the entire world going to be Africans. If we don't take precaution, by the year 2030, every 4 human being walking on the street, one will be Africans. So when Donald Trump comes, he's going to reverse that. I told you, COVID-19 was also about one world order. Gates, who boasts an estimated fortune of 162 billion, that's his fortune, right? Reportedly donate the sum of Future Forward, the main outside fundraising group supporting Harry. That's the name of, now listen to this. Look at the name of even the organization. It's called Future Forward. Now, Future Forward. Imagine this. The Pentagon gave a report some 10 years ago. By the year 2030, every 4 human beings you see, one will be African. By the year 2050, the entire world will be Africans. And then they have an organization called Future Forward. Who that Future for? Listen to this, folks. Future Forward. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about their future. Future Forward. It's about their plan. It's about their control. Future Forward. It's about not for them not to go down. Future Forward. Now, Bill Gates said, I support candidates who demonstrate clear commitment to improving healthcare. Now the question is, how Bill Gates support healthcare system in your community, in your nation? No. Isn't the Indian government have issue with Bill Gates in India where he went and gave vaccine that most Indians got polio, they can't walk. He gave vaccine, most of them got poison, most of them got sick. Can't get birth, can't get pregnant. Everything the same Bill Gates went to Kenya, and not only Kenya. It's just like other nations. It's just like Kenya was fortunate to come out with the news. It's just like Kenya was fortunate where they have some level of doctor. and they were able to track it. But it was not just in Kenya. Bill Gates did it most places in black nation, but they are not sophisticated to detect these things. But we will use Kenya. AC, he went to Kenya and carried vaccine there, and he said it was for girls of 14 to 25 or so. And then those girls, the one that have reached to the age of getting pregnant, they no longer got pregnant, and that's how they did the research. All girls in Kenya that took that vaccine, their womb was damaged. So how can Bill Gates say he support any candidate that will put their commitment in improving health care? Oh, so Biden, Kamala Harris, they are 4 years. They have improved health care in your community. Oh, so Trump did not improve health care, right? So Trump is against health care. Folks, these are the things they use to get you. Open your mind. This is not about you. This is not even about improving your community or health care. This, that. Your community is still poor when it comes to health care. You know that. Bill Gates said, I support candidates who demonstrate a clear commitment to improving healthcare, reducing poverty, and fighting climate change in the U.S. and around the world. Oh, but Bill Gates, look at what is happening in Gaza, what is happening in Palestine. If you're talking about the war, look at what is happening in Sudan. Look at what is happening in DRC Congo. Look at what is happening even on the African continent. Look at what is happening in South America. But let's take this out. Now you understand, right? We're not going to read the whole thing. You already understand what's going on. Now you understand what's going on, right? You see where it gone. Now, this is not about because he donated $50 million to Kamala Harris. We care about less. We are going to discuss the same thing if Bill Gates was going to donate it to Donald Trump. And which of course we know he not supporting Donald Trump. We already get the premise. Why? This is just to tell black nations, the African continent, stop being fooled. Stop being misled by Europe and America, by the West, thinking that you have to gain validation from them, thinking that they're going to rescue you, thinking that they're going to uplift your continent. No, the mess we are in was caused by Europe and America in the first place. No, why are they not supporting Burkina Faso? Why are they not supporting the AES? Just in 2 years, almost 20 assassination attempts against one person, which is Abraham Traoré. Almost all backed by the West. Let's see a video here. Maybe I didn't explain it clear, right? Let's see somebody else will explain it clear.
Something huge, donating. Bill Gates is hiding something huge, donating $50 million to keep it quiet. What is Bill Gates trying to hide? According to the New York Times, Bill Gates has given Kamala Harris over $50 million. This is unbelievable. This is according to the New York Times. This isn't some fringe conservative conspiracy theory. He confirmed it to the New York Times. After decades of sitting on the sidelines, the New York Times writes, of politics, Bill Gates, one of the richest people in the world, has said privately that he recently donated $50 million to a nonprofit organization that's supporting Kamala Harris, according to 3 people briefed on the matter. The donation was meant to stay under wraps. It was meant to be secret. Mr. Gates, one of the founders of Microsoft, has not publicly endorsed Ms. Harris, and his donation would represent a significant change in the strategy that has previously kept him away from gifts like this. So what is he hiding? Why would he do this? Why would Gates back Kamala Harris? Could it have anything to do with keeping the Epstein client list quiet? Elon Musk told the truth to Tucker. He knows all about this Epstein client list. Watch this.
You know, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead, so you know, in general, you always have to be careful.
Will that ever come out, do you think?
You know, I think part of why Kamala's getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gates.
And Gates.
Yeah.
And I only ask that because you just look at them and you're like, that's a nervous person right there. I don't know. I mean, I assume you know them. Yeah.
Yes. Reid Hoffman was my vice president of business development at PayPal.
Yeah.
24 years ago.
Does he seem nervous to you?
Folks, we're going to play the video. But again, right, just to emphasize, right? Do you see these are hierarchy, right? Setting, you already know that individual sitting down there, right? They know what is going on. Like I said, your leader have been picked even before election. All they do here is they put money into it to make sure to get the majority on their side, because they will have to see the U.S. as, yes, the people practice democracy, because that's what they preach. But the leader is already been picked. So you heard from an article, Bill Gates said this election is different. This election is different. And this is Elon Musk sitting down there saying, if Trump wins this election, XYZ going to be published. XYZ going to come out. Let's continue here.
Yeah, I mean, he's terrified of a Trump victory.
Because of the disclosure that would follow?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think he's certainly ideologically not aligned with Trump anyway, but I think he is concerned about the Epstein situation.
Yeah, of course. It's one of the big reasons, of course, that Melinda Gates divorced Bill Gates, his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
You know, it was also widely reported that Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein, and that you were not, that was very upsetting to you. Did that play a role in the divorce at all in this process?
Yeah, as I said, it's not one thing, it was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, the video you just watched, right? You're gonna watch it. But the general asked a specific question, just one question. But how they call it, his former wife said, right? It was not just because of that. So in other words, that is not even a major issue that I left my husband, that I divorced him. In other words, what you're thinking of, what you are focusing on, that is not even an issue that I left Bill Gates. She said there are numerous issues. Okay, let's continue here. There are numerous issues. Do you know what it means to divorce a man that you had children by for so many years, that you share flesh with, you share blood with, you share bed with, you share secret with, to just leave the man? She left the man not because of family issues, not because of personal family issue that was going on. Lot of things that is against humanity. Look at her face, her facial expression. It was not just because of that. It was numerous things. And then you sit down there, Negro P, and then say, oh, Trump hit us. Now, again, like I said, this is not about Trump, right? But listen, if you are voting for any political party or any political candidate, it shouldn't be about because someone came and told you, vote for this person because, don't vote for this person because this person hates you. Don't vote for this person because this person is racist. Don't vote for this person because this person does not support your interest in your community. It shouldn't be on that because they are all liars. If you are voting for anyone, look, go and vote. But it shouldn't be because someone came and told you Donald Trump is racist. Donald Trump does not like you. Or Donald Trump don't like women. Donald Trump molests women. Donald Trump do this. He got bad mouth. It shouldn't be on that. Because the issue here is they all have issue against women. They all have done the horrible things. But because they are in a court system, they are in a group, they are in an evil society. You think they don't know what they're doing? Because Donald Trump is a man that can keep him up. So he will be the one that will bring his secret out. But what exactly Donald Trump have done, the other people on the other side, they have done the same thing. But because they are in an evil society and Donald Trump is the one that is talking, right? So they have to bring his issue out. To say, oh yes, he did this, he did this, he did this. But if Donald Trump was not someone that can talk, was not someone that do this, everything that you are hearing was never going to come out. But you are seeing it because Donald Trump is different from them. And that is why you are saying all these things about him. But who told you he's not in a society with them? Donald Trump is in the same society that they are in. And that is why Donald Trump said, everything that you see me doing, they did it. They put it there. They're doing these things. They put me into it.
And you made that clear to him.
I made that clear to him. I also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time.
Did you?
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, you know, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It's awful.
You felt that the moment you walked in. I didn't realize
was awful.
that. Yeah. And you shared that with Bill and he still continued.
You heard that? I felt awful of those young women. Of those young women. Of those young women. Look, this is not about Donald Trump. This is not Donald Trump, right? But this is the ex-wife of Bill Gates. She felt awful. She felt horrible of those young women. Oh, so now it's only Donald Trump who have done the horrible things to women, right? This is a woman that is sitting down there talking what she saw, and she felt horrible. And in fact, she wanted to see this particular individual. That's a woman saying that they're talking, right? Oh, so why can't you believe this? Why can't you believe what she's saying? All of those people have done the worst, the horrible, horrible, horrible things. But it will never come out. For example, now this is again, it's not about even speaking for Kanye West, right? But let us be frank here. What Kanye West is going through right now, you think it was only Kanye West that did it? They have all of those, all of them did it is a society. But the day or the moment You decide to speak out. They're going to use it. They are not going to use look, the issue here is, right, they will never bring the other people who have not started talking their secret out. They will only bring your secret out. You have started talking, because here it is. The thing here is, as a society, right, you do not have access to the info, to whatsoever going on. It's like you doing a thing, right? Like, let's say if I'm part of it, right? I do not have access to all those recordings. I only have the privilege to do what I'm supposed to do. You think this is stupid as a society? I have the privilege to do what I'm supposed to do. All the nasty thing I want to do in my house, all the nasty thing I want to do out there, I have the privilege to do it. But when it comes to controlling the information, I don't have access to it. Because when I'm doing those things, I'm not the one behind the camera. I'm not the one controlling the camera. And I don't care. I'm just having fun. I'm just enjoying myself. I mean, I'm doing what I want to do. But I am not the one controlling the camera or the information and thing. So the day I decide to come out. Now, like I said, this is not even about speaking for Kanye West. But I just want you to understand. Because at the end of the day, it's not even white people bringing Kanye West down. It's the black people that are dragging Kanye West. Now, am I in support what Kanye West did? Absolutely not. But listen to this. Look at the white, how they protect their own. Now, that is not to say again, we should support the evil in society. No. But the issue here is, the moment these celebrities decide one day that, you know what, my people are going through hell, I got to stand for my people, I got to speak for my people, then that's the time the evil society is going to come out and publish everything about that person who have decided to turn around, to liberate you, to come to your side. Now, if you're not smart enough, you will be the one now tarnishing this person repetition. You will be the one publishing it. You will be the one talking about it. So be very calculated, be very smart on how to bring it. Now, I'm not saying if the black man does something, we shouldn't go against him or her. But know where you are going. No, study the world, study the event, study the surrounding, know what is happening before you even talk about it. Or else you'll be going against your own sources, against your own freedom. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm speaking for Kanye West, or not Kanye West, but P. Diddy. Now, sorry, I'm talking about Kanye West, but P. Diddy, right? I'm not speaking for P. Diddy. But we all have seen on the internet what's been going on about P. Diddy. It is our own black people who don't even understand the state in which they live in, the time. It is them. I'm not for P. Diddy, or I'm not for what he did. But be calculated, be smart here. Even as much as if we want to talk about what P. Diddy did, let's do some research more. That's my point. That's where I'm coming from. Let us do some more research and get to understand why are they doing this? Why are they publishing it at this time? Because if it was in your interest, P. Diddy started doing it 20, 30 years ago. Why didn't they bring it out? And then how will you just go now today? Then you just go take it and start publishing it because they just brought it out today. Understand why did they bring it out in the first place right now? Why did they didn't bring it out 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 15 years ago? Why did they didn't bring it out? Open your mind. Don't be an educated fool to bring your own self down. So now, in that manner, if we are discussing P. Diddy, right, let us discuss it holistically. Let us know why, first of all, why they brought it out. Is it because P. Diddy start talking about black liberation? Is it because P. Diddy now joined Kanye West? Is it because P. Diddy now decided to be a liberator? That's the same thing they did to Dr. King. When Dr. King was marching, when Dr. King was still preaching, when Dr. King was telling people, oh no, don't do this. Turn your left ear, let it slap it. If they slap your right ear, do on the other side. When he said, but later when Dr. King said, no, I failed. I betrayed my people. Later, when Dr. King said, no, Martian cannot do it. Later, when Dr. King started to agree on Malcolm X, what happened? They took it down. They took it out. Be smart. Be a liberator. Look, don't just see anything on the mainstream media about your people and then you take it and publish it. Ask yourself, if you have been doing this, if you are doing this because you love me, because you love me, because you love my people, because you love black people. But P. Diddy started doing it 20 years ago. And you had the information. Why didn't you publish it? Why didn't you bring it out? Well, you are bringing it out now. Just because they are bringing out what he has done, that shouldn't be our focal point. That shouldn't be the solution. I mean, the answer to say, oh, P. Diddy is bad. P. Diddy is dead. No. The people that are publishing it now, they are the evil. Because they had the information, they had it from us. So now, if we go now and tarnish P. Diddy, right? You know who work will be doing? We will be doing their work. Why it is against us? Because P. Diddy now decided that, you know what? I want to fight with my people. Even though I want to liberate my people, I want to educate my people. So we will be fighting against our own sources and fighting for them. Do you see how they do things? You think I'm just going to take P. Diddy and talk about him because he did this? We don't roll like that. It don't go like that. And it should not go like that with us. It don't go like that with them. Let us be smart. Let us be calculative. Because I saw a few videos P. Diddy was talking about. He was talking some revolutionary things. And I believe that's where his downfall came from. Because that's the consistencies of black people. If they are out there, but when they decide that, no, I can't be out here while my people down there suffering. The moment they decide to come down, they tarnish you. They did the same thing to Michael Jackson. I mean, let us understand what is happening. So anytime we see anything of our people, whether bad or good, let us try to understand why now it's coming out. That is not to say I support what P. Diddy did. But the issue here is there are more to what they are telling you that you don't know. So stop publishing it. If you want to publish it, go and do more research. And when you do your research, balance the equation. Because there are plenty in it. So listen to what the lady said. She felt horrible when she saw women, what she saw with her eyes. But they will come to you and tell you, say, oh, Donald Trump is this. Then you yourself now, Donald Trump, he did disobey women, he did respect women, he talked this, he talked that. But do you see what this lady is saying down there? All those people, none of them are seen, none of them are clean. It's a society they're in.
Continue to spend time with him?
Any of the questions remaining about what Bill's relationship there was, those are for Bill to answer.
Okay.
But I made it.
So you heard that, right? The journalist wanted to go into detail. She said, no. Any relationship that he was in, I forbid to go there. Look, this thing was not just about she divorced her husband because of some family issue. If you check it out, it might have even been that he was on the other side too gay. Because you heard it, right? Anything pertaining to his relationship, I don't want to discuss it. I don't want to get into it. Anything pertaining to molesting children, I'm just open your mind. Because she already told you what she saw was horrible. Let's continue here.
Very clear how I felt about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So $50 million Bill Gates just donated to Kamala Harris because that Epstein client list will remain behind. It will remain sealed if Kamala Harris wins the presidency.
Yes.
Absolutely 100%.
I think that's maybe one piece of why that $50 million is a good investment for Bill Gates, though. But if you look at his investments in the biopharmaceutical, Kamala Harris clearly will keep that money ball rolling for him.
Oh, yeah.
She clearly is in the tank for big pharma. All Democrats are. And so the fact that in the Netherlands this week, a judge has ruled that Bill Gates can be sued for his role advising the government on the COVID pandemic, including vaccine mandates and lockdowns. So if he is liable in a European country, does that mean he could be liable for his role promoting the COVID vaccine? Does he maybe not want that to happen in the United States? It's less likely to happen under a Kamala Harris presidency, clearly, right? So, I mean, I think if you're weighing like, here's 10 million for this, here's 10 million, I would say probably 25 million to keep the Epstein client list secret, right? Maybe another 10 for big pharma, maybe another 10 for his investments in American farmland. Like, there's a lot of reasons that's a good deal for him.
Yeah, keep the corruption going. And $50 million is a drop in the bucket for him to throw against.
Okay, keep the corruption going, right? The United States does not have democracy. They are corrupt. They are corrupt. So that is what's happening behind the scene. So African leaders sit on the African continent and you allow the West to always look down on you, right? Because you're afraid that the mainstream media, you're afraid. First of all, there is nothing African leaders, whether on the African continent or out of the African continent, there is nothing to be afraid of as long as you are doing the right thing for your people. Why is Abraham Traore not afraid? Because he's doing the right thing. Because his people support him. Why the people in Niger are not afraid? Because they are doing the right thing. The people support them. The people in Mali, why are they not afraid? Because they are doing the right thing and their people support them. You do not need Western validation. You do not need Western media to be in your country to tell you you are good. Your people will tell you, and you will see it from your people. You will see the reaction. You will see the happiness. You will see the transformation in your people. You will see the transformation in your community. You will see the transformation in your various sectors. You do not need it for us. You do not need it for strangers. Let's see something here, quick.
Choose the president. Presidents are publicly confirmed by the Electoral College. It is the Electoral College that votes for the president, not the people. Now, based on your popular vote, whoever wins the popular vote in a state generally will carry all of the Electoral College votes for that state. But the electors of that state are not required to vote for the person that won the popular vote. So, for example, you beat me in Pennsylvania for the popular vote for president of the United States. You clearly won the popular vote. The electors for the state of Pennsylvania, 99.9% of the time, will vote for you to be president because you carried the popular vote, but they are not required to do so by constitutional law. And the reason they are not required to do so by constitutional law is the United States government is not a democracy. It is a republic. It is not the rule of the majority. It is the rule of law. That's why the word democracy is not in the Constitution. The word democracy is not in the preamble. The word democracy is not in the Declaration of Independence. The word democracy cannot be found in any of the 50 state constitutions of this country. This is not a democracy. It is not the rule of the majority. It is a republic, the rule of the law. And who controls the republic? The aristocracy, the elite financial powers of this country. That's who really chooses the president. Now, if that is the case, why so much attention is put on the popular vote? Because since this is not a democracy, it is important to keep the illusion of inclusion alive and well. When people don't think they have a say in government, they overthrow it. When people don't think they have a say in government, they spark revolution. When people don't think they have a say in government, rebellions happen. So it is important for the power structure, the media, the corporate oligarchy to manipulate the American collective consciousness into voting for the person they pre-selected. It is important that the people come to the same conclusion through manipulation and indoctrination as the power structure. When the power structure chooses one president and the people choose someone else, then the illusion of a democracy begins to yield its dirty head. And that can spell trouble for maintaining the status quo and the social order. For example, in our lives, we've seen twice where a presidential candidate who won the popular vote lost the White House. Al Gore won the popular vote. George Bush won the White House. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Donald Trump won the White House. They can't keep letting that happen, because the more and more that the people choose one person and the power structure choose another, when people start to see that we really don't control this government, we really don't choose our leaders, they start to rebel. And that's why so much energy is put into the popular vote, because it needs to confirm the selection of the secret government. Now, let me make this make sense.
Let's continue. I'm not even going to add to what that author said, right? Now, very much clear, you understood what he said. And from the video and from the discussion so far we have carried on, right? America is not a democratic nation. All right? Now, this is not, again, a discussion against them or whatsoever, right? Look, what America do that work for her is good, because it worked for her. What we are saying here is for the African continent and African nation to stop living in delusion, to stop hallucinating about they have to come here to the West. No, they should stop it. There's no damn guy anywhere, anything, somewhere that you have to come to seek validation or to seek how you so run your government, or how you're supposed to run a nation, or how you're supposed to rule your people. They are not democracy. The US is not a democracy. And this is something I knew even before then, before even WCC. I knew some of these things reading, learning, and I knew some of these things while in class. A lot of times I pasted when I was doing my master program. And this professor, not even a black professor, a white professor, asked a question. Who here think the US is a democratic nation? And I can tell you, everyone in there put their hand up and say yes. I was the only person put my hand on last, because all those that said yes, their hand was up, my hand was down. And after all of them put their hand down, I put my hand up. And the professor recognized me. He said, Frank, your hand was down. What's the answer? And I said, the US is not a democratic nation. And then he asked me to explain something. He said, what does the US practice? I said, the US have a little bit of dictatorship, a little bit of feudalism, a little bit of anarchy, a little bit of this. And when I said that, the reaction in the classroom changed. And mind you, I'm not talking about high school. I'm not even talking about or how they call it, or undergrad. I'm talking about graduate program. I'm talking about master degree. And you know now the reason I'm emphasizing on this about master degree, you know, doing your master, you will see people who work in government, because all those classes are night classes. Because these are people who work. And what I'm telling you, there's a guy, I'm not going to call name, and I'm not going to call the senator. We both work in a senator office at that time. But he was over me. In fact, I met him in our senator office. Okay. So if anything that I need, I will go to him first. Or if I do some research, if I go for a committee hearing and then come by, when I tap all our hearing, I will have to pass it on to him. He see it, approve it, and then even before put the Pennsylvania seal on it. And then before I can distribute it to the various district. Because in Philadelphia, because our senators that we had at that time, he was from Philadelphia, his district in Philadelphia. I'm not going to call it district. Yeah. Okay. So when I said that, and then while in fact explaining more, the professor said to me, Frank, it's okay, because I don't want to put you in a harm. I don't want to put you in a danger. Because he knew the society we're in, you can't speak against or their government or their democracy or their system. You can't bring different, you can't educate them about, their belief is their belief. They already believe in it. And once you believe in something, it limits you. Yeah, it limits you. Once you believe in something, it limits you from going further to do research because you already believe in it. Once you believe in something, it means you are not a learner because you are not willing to go beyond to find out. You are not willing to listen to other people. You are not willing to do that. Your belief is a belief. That's it. So if somebody bring another idea to tell you, look on the other side. That box, it have another door. You will not look there because the door you believe in on that box, that's the only door to that box. That's the only door you can enter and come back outside. You don't believe that there is another door to that box that you can use to go on the other side. So I had a professor said to me, it's okay, Frank, I don't want to put you in a harm. Because it's possible, because in fact, after class, he met with me, he said, we live in a society where sometimes you try to educate people, it will look bad. They still follow you and go do you harm. And I didn't want that to happen to you. Before the next week, we see you on, how to call it, media, and then saying this. So that's why I post up to it. But before then, when he told me to post up, and he in a classroom, he made a note to them. He said, Frank is right. For that, he made a note to them. He said, Frank is right. America is not a democratic nation. There's a white professor. He said, America is not a democratic nation. And I will continue that. And after class, he met me and he told me why he stopped me. It's not like what I was saying, it was wrong or he did not want to continue, but it was also for my protection. But let's continue. You heard it from the video, right? Let's continue here. Now, this is not about against the US. No, it worked for them. Their system, their propaganda. I mean, what they do work for them. But this is for the African nations and the African continent. All right, we're running out of time, right? Let me just do this. I'm going to skip some stuff, okay? I'm going to skip some stuff. So let's just go to the next topic. I'm going to skip. I'm skipping this. I'm skipping something because we're running out of time. But let's go to the last part that says messages to the African youth. I mean, messages of the African youth, or messages of the African youth, right? Let's just go to that. I'm going to skip some stuff. We're running out of time. But let's go to the messages of the African youth. But before we go to the messages of the African youth, there is something I want to bring out. Because we have to balance the equation. Let me be frank here. Okay? The system that African people or Black people deal with outside of Africa It is the same system that is in Africa. It is the same system, nothing changed. So that's why in WCC here, we always like to balance the equation if we can. All right. So let's see something here. We are not going to play the entire video because the video is long, but at some point I will stop so that I just want you to get a concept. All right.
You Democrats, you've been in that party a long time. Answer me. What did you get? You got a president. He's worried about his legacy because Trump said the minute he get in, he's going to reverse the Affordable Care Act because that's your signature achievement. To show you how hateful the enemy is, he hates that you achieved what you did achieve. So he said, I'm going to tear it up when I get in. So he don't want his legacy destroyed. Mr. President, let the man do if he get in what he wants. Because he's not destroying your legacy. If your legacy is bound up in an Affordable Care Act that only affects a few million people and they're trying to make it really difficult for those of us who signed up, that's not your legacy. But I just want to tell you, Mr. President, you from Chicago and so am I. I go out in the street with the people. I visited the worst neighborhoods. I talked to the gangs. And while I was out there talking to them, they said, you know, Farrakhan, the president ain't never come. Could you get him to come and look after us? There's your legacy, Mr. President. It's in the street with your suffering people, Mr. President. And if you can't go and see about them, then don't worry about your legacy. Because the white people that you've served so well, they'll preserve your legacy. The hell they will. But you didn't earn your legacy with us. We put you there. You fought for the rights of gay people. You fought for the rights of this people and that people. You fight for Israel. Your people are suffering and dying in the streets. That's where your legacy is. And you failed to do what should have been done. But it's never too late. You, like Jimmy Carter, can be a better president after you leave the restrictions of your White House and come on back to the hood and start organizing like you did. And with your influence all over the world, let's make a new and better people. And from us, if it's Allah's will, we can make a new.
Invest in Lift Aircraft, the company with $5 million in government contracts.
And better America.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think God would give his only begotten son for this world? Just think. Look at the world that you live in. How rotten it is. We voted for our brother, Barack. Beautiful human being with a sweet heart. And now he's an assassin. They've turned him into them. You didn't hear me. They turned him. They brought him to England. See? Oh, now he can stay in Buckingham Palace. Nobody stayed there. Just a few presidents. Why him? Why? See, we know this enemy. See, America can sit down tyrants, but who will sit her down? She puts her trust in her weapons of war. She threatens the nations of the earth and has my brother calling for the assassination of brother Muammar Gaddafi. What has he done? I can defend that man. You don't know that man. See, you're a victim of that media that's controlled by satanic forces. My poor brother, they're bombing. They said they were only going over there for humanitarian reasons. We're going to stop Gaddafi from killing his own people, and we believe that. You've been deceived. You talk about a man killing his own people when you lie to the American people, saying that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. When you lie and then take innocent young men who come to serve their country and send them to die in Iraq, in Afghanistan, over lies, that's a murderer in the White House. Who will say it? I will, because I have a power behind me that is bringing America to judgment as we speak. Don't be afraid. I'm talking.
The outside world saw Black America as hope for them because they knew that if we united, we could form a political base of power that could change not only domestic policy, but influence foreign policy. So when I went around the world after the Million Man March, we were met with leaders that, I mean, literally praised Black people in America for such a demonstration. People lined the streets and cheered us from the airports into the cities, and there was no head of state or government that did not receive us with honor. And now the doors to the world are open to us, but we must be prepared now to, when these doors open, to go in and take advantage of the fact that we are an international people, a global people. We are not a minority. We are the majority on the planet, and the whole world is looking to Black America because we grew up in the world leader. We understand them better than anyone outside of America. We get nearly $1 trillion out of this economy, and we are the best educated Black people on the earth. But what we need is a knowledge of self that will give us self-love, self-determination, and a desire to do for self. Then the whole world is not our playground, but it is our, I would say, our garden, where we can go and eat the fruit from all of the trees except the one that's in the midst of the garden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Mr. Farrakhan, let me ask you a question about leadership, and certainly your leadership over the last 15 years, especially in organizing the Million Man's March and the Millions More Movement March. I think is an example of the quality of your leadership, as well as the vision of that, the best possible folks coming forward to provide that leadership to us.
I think the best of us is yet to come. The best of us is like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught me once. He said, there's a force in the universe that in the darkness, a star is being born. and you can't see it, but then that force that's in the darkness will bring that star into view. What that is telling us is we are never bereft of leadership. When leaders fail us or when good leaders die, that same force that is in the universe that makes new stars and brings them into a view will bring new leadership into view. And new leadership is required among Black people because there is a sickness in our leadership. I don't want to put myself apart from them, except that I do that sets me apart. I will not place myself beyond our brothers and sisters in leadership because none of us have done all that we should or all that we could. But having said that, there is a sickness, a disease in Black leadership. Let me give you an example.
Yes, sir.
Mother Coretta Scott King.
Sorry, Louis Farrakhan. Let me just something. And that disease, that sickness is in Nana Akufo-Addo, is in Tinubu, is in the Liberian president. How they call him? Say, what is his name? The Liberian president. What is his name? Boakai, Joseph Boakai. It's that disease is in him. That disease is in William Ruto. That disease is in Al-Assad. I mean, all of them. That sickness, that disease is in them. But we got measures for them.
A woman that sacrificed much for us as the wife of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The children of Mrs. King willingly or unwillingly paid a tremendous price. Sometimes we are ungrateful to those who have suffered to make life better for each and every one of us. But when Mother King passed, Harry Belafonte,
the time to help is now. We can't wait for our brothers and sisters to be broken and steadfastness.
our esteemed brother, who did so much to help Dr. King, who did so much to back the family, was disinvited to share a word from that platform on behalf of Mother King.
Again, like I said, right? It's a disease. And like he said, it's a disease. It's not just a disease in the US. It's a disease in Black nation on the African continent at large. What exactly Louis Farrakhan is saying? The same thing go on, for example, in South Africa that we mentioned yesterday or sometime back. On Nelson Mandela Day, instead of African people, even Julian Malema, okay, who have a vast idea about the situation of South Africa or apartheid of what Nelson Mandela stood for. For example, they never use or how they call it, or Julian Malema, or even not Julian Malema, but another Black person who know the issues. They never use them, but they use Henry. The people that sat on the throne in England, the people that supported apartheid against of Africans, the people that stole the gold, and they have a reserve in a Buckingham Palace. They use one of the songs to come to speak to African people, to speak to South African about Nelson Mandela. It's a disease, it's a sickness, it's a spare. And the white man, the European, will never take this spare because they want for the spare to be on you. And it's only us that can remove the spare. It's a disease. Have you ever seen them If they are celebrating the queen, they are queen. I mean, I don't want to say queen. They are queen. Have you ever seen them call Dr. Uma, for example? Have you ever seen them call Patrick Lumumba to go and be a keynote speaker for Queen birthday, or to be a keynote speaker for the first queen or the second queen, or the first King Charlie or the second King Charlie? Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen them use Patrick Lumumba, for example, to go be a keynote speaker on a day of celebration of Leopard? Because they know it's going to be a whole ball game. They know what Patrick Lumumba is going to say. They know what Julia Malema is going to say. They know what Dr. Uma is going to say. For example, they know. And many others, name that I can call. But they know what these people are going to say. So they will never call such a man or such people to go and speak. They will never call Louis Farrakhan to go and talk about Jefferson. They will never do it. They will never call Louis Farrakhan to go and speak about Columbus Day. Many other people of black who stand for the truth, who are not puppets, they will never call such people to go and talk about Thanksgiving days. They know they will not do it. So why should we call these people to come and be the keynote speaker for our occasion when we know it's a disease, it's a space sickness?
Because he had made some disparaging remarks against the President Bush, and now Bush was coming, Clinton was coming, Carter was coming, white folks were coming. So we could disrespect one of our own because of this sickness in us, that if they don't approve of us, we do not approve of one another. That leadership, that quality of leadership that will only keep their hand in our hand as long as we don't step out of line with white folk. That quality of leadership must be overthrown, and a quality of leadership must arise that will never disrespect and be ungrateful to the masses of black people and never compromise principle because the former slave masters and their children are in the house. Brother Akbar said there's a syndrome among black people. No matter what we say or what we do, we respond like this. I wonder what Massa gonna think about that. That's a Negro syndrome. So black leaders can't speak as forcefully as they could or they should, because I wonder what Massa gonna think about that. Oh Lord, have mercy. Massa giving us money. And Lord, if I say too much, Massa gonna stop giving me money. So I can't talk like I know I should talk. And that's why they, like Nicodemus, they can meet Jesus in the dark, in the back, and say, I'm with you, brother. But when it comes to leading our people, they can only take us so far. And that's why that young cadre of leadership, those stars that are being born in the darkness, they must rise now and come forth without the poison of loving others more than you love yourself and wanting to please others before you please yourself.
Another part
that on this, we're going to take a break. But when we come back, Mr. Farrakhan, you just opened up something that we definitely wanted to be nice. The minister.
This is how we send gift cards and money at scale with Tremendous. It's a free platform that makes it easy for businesses to send millions.
See, I ain't gonna use my regular words, but we were both, Brother Pickett, actually Brother Slade was here too. I mean, actually taken aback by the type of statements that were being made, and actually you were misquoted. As I went back, as I hadn't seen the footage, and when I saw the footage, it was stated that you said burn the house down, when actually you said let the house burn down. But there seems to be a whole issue over the covenant. And as a matter of fact, Brother Belafonte was there,
Right.
and I think it was Brother Cornel West. Now, our phones went off the hook, right, brother?
Oh, it's crazy.
Could you please explain
Yes.
to our audience what this was about?
Yes. First, let me say how honored I am, first, to be in the studio with you all. It's one thing to be on the phone with you, but now to be in the studio. I'm happy to be here. And I just want to say to Ron Daniels, Alambe Braith, and Frederica Bay, and all of the believers, and Minister Kevin, and the ministers that are listening by radio, my great appreciation and thanks to all of you for whatever I am and whatever God has blessed me to do. I could never have done it without the help and support of so many whose names I could not remember all to call, but I want to say to all of you, there is no person in leadership that is anything without those who support that leadership. And oftentimes we focus on an individual when an individual is the servant of the mass. So now, you know, I am in love with Harry Belafonte. He's not only a great artist, a great humanitarian. And I guess the shock of what I was saying caused that kind of disturbance mentally and emotionally, so I was not properly heard. Now, Harry Belafonte told me personally, and I read it in his writings, that 2 weeks before Dr. King was assassinated, they met to plan the move in Memphis. And everyone was joyous except Dr. King. He was in a melancholy state. And Harry Belafonte sat with him and said, "Martin, everyone seems so happy, but you seem melancholy. What's troubling you, Martin?" And he said that Dr. King said, "I fear that I am integrating my people into a burning house." And then Dr. King said he wanted his disciples to be firemen. And I said, no, don't be firemen. Let the house burn. Now, Dr. King did not see a literal fire, but he knew that the house was in fact on fire. The fact that he saw it and wanted his disciples to be firemen said that he didn't start the fire. And the fact that the house is the house of our former slave masters, they would be foolish to burn down their own house. So the question is, how did the fire start? Who started the fire? And what is the fire? So I went to scripture, and this is something because Dr. West is a theologian, and some on that panel were pastors, and most of those who studied the scripture, I want you to remember this. I went to the scripture and the words of Jesus Christ when he said, "I am the light of the world." And I said, the light of the world is our day sun. And if you remember when John was baptizing in the River Jordan, he said, "One is coming after me, whose shoes I am unworthy to unlace, and he's going to baptize you with fire and the Holy Ghost." So Jesus comes and Jesus wishes to be baptized by John, but John knows that this is the one who's coming after him. But he baptizes Jesus with water, but Jesus is a man coming to baptize with fire. Well, what is the fire? The fire is a blazing hot truth that will undermine a house built on falsehood, racism, sexism, materialism, and white supremacy. Dr. King didn't start the fire. God started the fire. And if God has started the fire, there's no man can put the fire out. And that's why Jimmy Baldwin wrote
the book Fire next time, because this is the day of the judgment of this system of things. Now, is the house on fire? Yes. Every institution built on white supremacy is on fire. Religion is on fire. The church is on fire because Christianity, as it was preached and practiced, was based in white supremacy. But a black theology now has arisen, and a new church is arising. A new politics is arising. A new education is arising. A new social system is coming out of the old. And that's why I quoted from the scripture that Christ said, "Behold, I make all things new. There'll be a new heaven and a new earth, and the former things shall pass away." I didn't mean to upset you to think that I would burn down the house with our children in it, but the house is burning and our children are in it. And every time Cornell speaks, he's not a fireman. He's pouring gas on the fire when he speaks truth to power. Harry Belafonte is not a fireman. Every time he would call Bush the leading terrorist in the world, he's not putting out the fire. He's pouring gas on the fire. And every time Tavis Smiley will hold a forum to elaborate and elucidate on the problems of black people and motivate black people to get up and do something for themselves, then he's not a fireman. He's pouring gas on the fire. But as the fire burns and the ashes come from the burning of the fire, and we too are set on fire, because as the scripture says, we are born in sin and shaped in iniquity. So our spiritual house is also on fire. But from the ashes, he said, I'm going to make a new heaven, a new earth, and you will be a new creature in Christ. That is what Farrakhan was referencing. Now, the last point is, when you make a covenant is a solemn agreement between people who are declaring their integrity to live up to that which is in the covenant. Who is the covenant with? Are the leaders making a covenant with Black America that we will never sell them out for friendship and favor with our former slave masters? We have not made that kind of covenant.
And again, this also go on the African continent. We have these leaders, and I will keep mentioning their name, like Nana Akufo-Addo from Ghana, Halassa from Ouattara from Africa, Halassa, who is now the president now, but from Sierra Leone, right? William Ruto, Kenya, even the Benin, even Liberia, right? Boakai. I mean, all of them. They do not have a covenant with their people. They sign a covenant with the Osawa, with the enemies. And that is why they do nothing for their people. Because the people that they have covenant with, the people that they sign covenant with, those are the people they serve. Those are the people they run to. Those are the people they sell the resources to. Those are the people they compromise the interest of their people for. That is why they do nothing. And that is why for each time their citizens get on the street to demand their government to do the needful thing, to do the right thing, their government put police on the street to kill them because they have no loyalty. They did not sign covenant with them. But we got meshes for them. And some of those meshes are already in here, what Louis Farrakhan is saying. We are not going to listen to African leaders because this is a different time where we will have new breed. And we have it already. Abraham Traore signed covenant with his people. And that is why you see what is going on. And that is why the West is angry. The West does not want any African leader to sign a covenant to his people or to their people. That is why they are angry with the Nigerian president. They are angry with the Malian president. They are angry with Tianin, they are angry at Assembly Gaita, and they are angry with Abraham Tuwari. Because those leaders sound confident with their people. And that is why systematically the West, the UN, the CIA have always gone against African leaders who sound confident with their people and they take them down. Yes. Thomas Sankara sound confident with his people, the CIA take him down. Patrick Lumumba sound confident with his people, CIA take him down. Amika Cabral sound confident with his people, CIA take him down. Nkrumah sound confident with his people, CIA wanted to take him down and still they succeeded. He had to leave the country and went to Guinea-Conakry. And that is why we African youth, in everywhere we have to be revolutionary. We got measures for them.
Covenant with our people. Somebody needs to put leadership before Black America and lay down principles that either we say we will and then be measured by our word, or get out of the way and let the new leadership arise. Black people, I went to the book of Isaiah. You can't make a covenant with Black America when you're living a lie yourself. You have made an agreement with hell and a covenant with death. That's the lifestyle that you live in. You're killing yourself. You're killing your people. You're living a lie. So until you can come up out of that and break that covenant with death and with hell, then you can make a new covenant. But the covenant cannot be with Black America before you make a covenant with God. If my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. That's the covenant, and God will never violate his word as these false people have promised us. And lastly, when my brother Tavis held up two papers, one a letter from the leader of the Republican National Committee, one from the leader of the Democratic National Committee. These were words from persons who are a part of the liars, the deceivers, who have promised us. And what I said in my few minutes, you're not dealing with the real powers. That man can give you a promise that he can't fulfill because there are powers behind him that can undermine anything that he says. Go to the White House and get a promise from the president. He's not the power in America. He's a front man for power. So when you don't know who you're dealing with, you take the lies and deceit of these people into your heart. I am telling you, Black America, don't you believe the false promises of your former slave masters and their children. And that's why the Bible says we war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and the rulers of the darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness that is in high places. And none of us are sitting down with those boys that pull those strings. So any promise made by anyone else, don't pay it any mind.
And we're in the 11 o'clock hour. We want to remind all of you out there, you listen to
a Globe.
When I'm at the gym, every now and then I wear my Evolve hat, and some people come up to me and ask me what Evolve is, and I say, if you...
America, they offered it to President Clinton. He turned it down. But President Bush was made for this, so he accepted the ideas of the neoconservatives, and he is now the chief exponent of an idea that is taking the country into ruin. You can vote him out and vote his administration out, but you still won't get the powers that controlled Clinton when he was in, controlled Carter when he was in, controlled Nixon and Reagan when they were in. No, my brother, there has to be a sweep. That's why Christ comes with a government on his shoulders.
For unto us a child is born, a son is given, and a government will be upon his shoulders. And he shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Prince of Peace, the Everlasting Father. And of the increase of his government of peace there shall be no end. All of these governments of the world have failed in their stewardship of human beings. So God is coming in this day to take over the rule himself and set up a government that will give the people freedom, justice, equality, and the kind of peace that will make human beings able to live together in brotherhood. So I thank you for your question, but you can vote if you want to and vote this out. But whatever you vote in, believe me, it's the same thing that you just voted out. Because when you sit in that seat, you don't see the electric shocks that come up under it to let the boy sitting in the seat know there's another power here that you better pay attention to. So all of your votes, whether it's for the mayor of the city, whether it's for the city council, whether it's for aldermen or whatnot, these are offices that good can come from, but there is so much evil under this good that if you don't continue to wash your representatives in the pool of Siloam, they too will become corrupt and compromise away the future of our people.
What's this power? What's this power? Excuse me. I mean, you've
and commandments of God. I am not a Jew. I am a.
Let's speak with Ken. Good morning, Ken. You're on open line.
Yes, brothers. Thank you, brother minister, for being here today. And also, too, I have to disagree with you about the book, The Covenant, because the book, I read the book, and it's still relies.
They have their next meeting. And of course, he was very successful, but the government feared an international presence. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad single-handedly turned us from Negroes to accepting ourselves no matter what shade of color we were, due to the Willie Lynch syndrome and the going in and out of our women by our former slave masters and their children that gave us all these different shades, and then they divided us by these shades. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us to refer to ourselves as the black man, the original people of the earth. And when we saw ourselves as black people, then every person of color on the earth, we identified with them. So in the 60s, nothing could happen on the African continent that black people in America were not concerned with. Nothing could happen in the Caribbean or in Brazil or in Central America or in the islands of the Pacific, where black people were concerned, that we didn't feel them, because a nervous system was being created for black people, that we felt the pain of one another wherever we were on the earth. But after Malcolm was assassinated and Martin was assassinated and Elijah Muhammad was gone, notice the shift in language. We were no longer black. In New York City, there were several black shows. There was Black News. Was it Positively Black? There was the national program with Tony Brown called Black Journal.
Right.
After the death of these giants, now the wise people said, let's change the language so we can change their focus and give them a new understanding of who they are. So subtly, there was no more Black News, no more Positively Black. Black Journal became Tony's Journal. And all over America, wherever black was describing that program, Black Star in Baltimore, that left. And then the new language was the minority, the disadvantaged. Then came African American. And what was happening is a severing of the nervous system that black had made, tying us to the struggle of black people all over the world. So now there can be a Darfur. Who cares? That's not us.
There can be a Rwanda and Burundi. Who cares? That's not us. So we don't feel suffering until there's a Katrina. Oh, that's us. But what's going on in Haiti, that's not us. What's going on in Brazil, in Costa Rica, in Colombia, in Nicaragua, in Guatemala, that is not us. So the language shift. Now let's go to Darfur. If you notice, on the mall, 95% of those who were present were Caucasian. I'm not going to denigrate their sensitivity to suffering, but the reason that blacks were not there is because the blacks who could make something happen were never invited. It's not that black people don't care about Darfur, but Darfur, on the scale of suffering in the world, pales. Because now I heard there were 180,000 dead, from that to 400,000, okay? 2 million displaced. But in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, 3.5 million have died, no talk. In northern Uganda, with the Lord's Resistance Army and the walking at night for the children trying to run away so that they would not be kidnapped and made to fight against the government in Kampala. No talk. Why Sudan? For the last 15 years, Sudan has been on the agenda for regime change. Regime change because Sudan housed Palestinian resistance fighters. Sudan housed Osama bin Laden and put him out. But Sudan is an Islamist regime that is against the state of Israel. Now let's stop there for a moment. See, now they said, well, these are some Arabs in the Sudan enslaving Africans. So naturally, this is the language of Arabs enslaving Africans. This is so clever, and the media pushes that so that there would come a natural hatred of blacks for Arabs, so that Arabs look like the real culprits here. Well, you don't know this, but I and my national, international representative, Akbar Muhammad, who's in the studio with me, who I want to speak on this in just a few moments, he and I were together on a peace mission. Listen to me carefully now. How many years ago was that, Brother Akbar? Over 10 years ago, wasn't it? It
was 1994.
1994, 12 years ago. Now, I went to Ghana and spoke with then President Jerry John Rawlings. And Rawlings said, if you want to help ease the crisis, get in touch with Kenneth Kaunda, the former president of Zambia. We got in touch with Kenneth Kaunda, and he said he would accompany us. And so we went to Kenya and met with President Arap Moi, who at that time was over that group of nations that were working for peace. What is it?
IGAD.
IGAD, E-G-A-D. So when we met with President Moi, he sent us to Uganda, where we met with President Museveni. But the most important meeting was a meeting with Brother John Garang, who for 20 years was fighting the government in Khartoum. Now, why was there a fight? Was it over slavery? Akbar, you were with me. At no time during our talk with John Garang, which was 4 hours in length, was there ever a mention of slavery.
Right, never mentioned.
But when I mentioned the word justice, then John Garang's wife broke down and cried and said that I was the only person who came that talked about justice. Now, what was the injustice? The Arabs have mixed their blood with the Africans that live in the north. They are Arabized and Islamic. And the same racist poison that has poisoned the bloodstream of Islam has made the Arab north feel superior to the Christian animist African south. The South is black, 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 so black till there's blue in their color. So when you have, like the enemy has done to us, when you're lighter, you think you're better than your black brother or sister. And in New Orleans, when I just left there, they told me about the brown bag, that if you walked in a place and you couldn't pass the brown bag test, meaning your color was darker than the bag that you carry your liquor in, you couldn't go in certain places. And in Washington, D.C., y'all know that there was an elitist attitude among light-skinned black people against dark-skinned black people. The same game that the enemy has played here and in Africa. Now he's dominating that scene now in Sudan. Now look at the Sudan. It's the largest landmass country, I think.
That's right.
On the African continent. If it were fully developed, it could feed all of Africa. In the South, there's an abundance of oil. And if you remember in Nigeria, in the eastern part of Nigeria, they wanted to break that part off years ago and call it Biafra. And it ignited a civil war. And the civil war was to unite that which gave them power, because there was a regime in Lagos that the government of America and Britain did not like. Now, what you got in the West, Brother Akbar, tell the audience, because I sent Brother Akbar there to look into the situation in Darfur, and James M. Toomey went himself. Tell them about the Janjaweed, tell them about the government, tell them about the farmers, tell them about the herders, tell them what is really happening on the ground there, and then we'll come back to why no black people were there on that mall.
Yes, Brother Minister, with your permission, first, thank you very much. I'd like to say to the audience, you know, we have a saying, when there's darkness, stand still. And most black people in America did not participate because the cloud that was around it that they really didn't understand. And then they were not invited in mass. They tried to get some to come. So the standing still is because they've heard so many different things. One of the things I want to start off where the minister left off at, when that peace accord was signed in the South, immediately this conflict broke out in the West. Now, until the last 5 days, most people in America knew nothing about the rebel group that started all of this. They had a peace accord in Abuja. The Sudanese government said that they would sign. The rebels first resisted. Bush sent the deputy secretary of state there to force the rebels. Now, how could you force the rebels to sign unless you got some clout with them, or were you?
Let me project a little bit. So again, the reason why I'm playing this, right, is a very lengthy discussion and exposing the truth, because most of our people do not understand, as we already know, especially when it comes to proxy war. Okay, and just put this into perspective. Look at what is happening in Gaza, and in Palestine, Gaza. You already know who is actually supporting the war. You already know who is fueling the war, right? You know already. So, like he's saying down there, how are you going to take a paper to the rebel government for them to sign a peace agreement if you are not in contact with these people, if you are not supporting these people? First of all, a rebel government, right? Why would you not want to be on the side of the national government to go and destroy the rebel, to go and kill them and let them be done? Because if you go sign a peace agreement with the rebel, do you know what you're doing right there? You just open a corridor for further war. Because the day another government, because what happened here is that government that is in power going to leave. Another government going to come. So do you see how strategically the West work, right? The Western world work against Africa. Now, the government at that current time and the rebel going to stay. The rebel is permanent. They're going to stay. But the government is not permanent, because the government at some point going to leave. Another government going to come. No, if that government come and that government is not in line of the U.S. foreign policy of European foreign policy, right? What's going to happen? Boom! The rebel going to resurface again. So in other words, the West have these rebels on the African continent, African nations. So as backup, so as long as a government you come into power, you do not protect or support or put your country at the bottom line or the interest of the people at the bottom line, as long you do not, as long you want to be for your people, they bring in a rebel. But as long you suppress your people in the interest of the West to loot their resources, the rebel will be stand by. Because they support the rebel, they fund the rebel, they feed the rebel, they sign contract with the rebel. So the rebel are stand back. So that is why they fight by all means to make sure no government provide a conducive environment for the African continent or for the African nation. Because if you do, which one of your people will go be rebel? Because everybody work. Everybody's got to go to work. Got to feed their family. You have work. Because when you lay down, the next day you think about going to work. That's what you're thinking about. And then come back to take care of your family. So they make sure they put Africa in a perpetual condition where the youth or the people will have no job. So when such thing happen, they're going to get the rebels. Because these rebels, they have jobs. So by the time the government comes, not in the interest of the West, the rebel got to go because that's their job. They pay them, they live good life, they feed their family, they send their children to school. And if you find out these rebel children are eating out of that country, they are in a European war going to schools. And these same rebel, their children in a European war going to school, they are being indoctrinated. So they are also going to serve as the next leader. So just understand what is going on here. Going to sign a contract with the rebels. Can a U.S. sign contract with anybody who break the law in the U.S.? Can a U.S. sign contract with someone who go against the U.S. policy, someone who go against the United States citizens? Will, freedom, way of life? Can a U.S. sign contract with someone who bring hardship to the U.S.? I mean, let us think of these things and know who are the people behind the war or these issues in Africa.
Supplying them with money and weapons and so forth, and you told them that this is what you have to do at that time. But the tragedy is that if you look at the government in Khartoum, now whenever we look at the world and you talk about a government, Brother Minister, if you talked about Iraq during the time of Saddam Hussein, they'd show his picture. If you talked about Syria, they would show Assad. If you talked about Saudi Arabia today, they would show King Abdullah. If you talk about Egypt, they would show Mubarak. They've talked about the Sudan, but if I asked an audience across this country, what does the president of the Sudan look like? Most people do not know. He just went to Iran to meet with the leader of Iran, and very little information showing him in a picture with him because he is as black as Akbar or either blacker. So he doesn't fit the script of the Arab who's killing Africans. Last week, the Washington Post published the 5 facts about Darfur. One of them on there that was blaring, and Mtumi, you can bear witness to this, is that all of the people are black. So if you talk about Arabs killing Africans, Mtumi, you went into a room when you were there. I went into the same room, and the man said, would the Arab tribe leaders stand up that include the ones that are called Janjaweed? And when they stood up, they were all black. He said, now will the African tribes stand up? And they were all black. And so everybody, we looked at each other because the picture in America is that these white Arabs are killing Africans. And the brother said clearly, what makes them the Arabs, they only speak Arabic and they're herders, or you would call nomads. They do herding. What makes them Africans is they speak an African language and Arabic. They're all Muslims, And so they've had this clash for 500 years. This conflict with the rebels exacerbated it because the government did go in and form a militia. And this militia was not to make people suffer in murder and rape, but it was to root out the rebels who had taken shelter among the villagers and the people. And this picture is not seen in America.
Yeah, that's a good history lesson.
Well, if I could just finish that point.
I mean, it's crazy to think about it. Like, it used to cost millions to advertise on TV, and now because of streaming.
You see, when you see Senator Tom Lantos leading the march on the Sudanese embassy, when you see Elie Wiesel, these are Zionists. These are pro-Israeli Zionists. Why are they leading the march? Do you really think that they have compassion for what is going on in Darfur? See, human suffering is human suffering. Don't tell me you have compassion for the blacks that are suffering in Darfur and you got Palestinians suffering under your nose and you don't care nothing about that? Come on. If there's 3.5 million dying in the Congo, you say nothing about that? The people that are dying in Uganda, you say nothing about that? No. Then what is the motive sitting up under this? This is what black people have to look at. It is that there's oil in the West, there's gold, there's uranium, and there's a 500-year fight. Like the early plains, you know, if I was a cattle rancher, you know, and you were a sheep herder, and we didn't like the sheep herders, and there's a fight between the cattle ranchers, the sheep herders. Then the railroad comes in and they start taking the land. So all these boys fighting each other in early American history. This is what's going on in Darfur and the mistake that the government made. But sincere, they saw these herders that were going to fight against the rebels and they armed them. But then that 500-year-old hatred that's in them took precedence over rooting out the rebels, and the massacre began and so forth. So what I say to black people, you know, when the former slave masters who didn't care about lynching, who didn't care about our suffering, who don't care about what happened in Katrina, don't you be deceived that they care about what's happening over there and they don't care what's happening to us here.
And let me just add to what Louis Farrakhan is saying. And this goes to the so-called Negro on the African continent, who when they see the West, or when they see the white man go to the African continent, and when they speak about peace, about freedom, about this, and then they think it's all good. They think salvation have come. They think heaven door has opened. They think Jesus Christ, judgment day have come, and they are about to be saved. But what Louis Farrakhan is saying, right? Ask these people when they come on the African continent, how are black people in the U.S. being treated? How are black people in the UK are being treated? How are black people in France are being treated? How are black people in Germany are being treated? How are black people in Australia are being treated? Let us be frank here. Let us ask this question. Because as far as we know, black people in America here are being treated badly, unjustly. The system is not for them. The system treats them differently. So why will you care for the people there, but you don't care for the people here? Because that is the same blackness there, that is the same blackness here. So are you telling me the blackness here different for the blackness there? That you care for the people there, but you don't care for the people here? Oh, so you think they care about you there and they don't care about the people here? So you think they care about you? That's why they bring in 2 million, 3 million, 4 million to give it to you there. But they can't give the 5 million, the 3 million, whatsoever to the people here. Oh, so do you think they care about you? That's why they are taking $1 million to come and build school there, to come and improve your healthcare system there. But black people here in their community, in their city, their healthcare system is bad. Educational system, bad. No equipment, nothing. Why would they care about you there? These are the questions we also be asking. And that is why we need to know about blacks here. And at the same time, we need to know about black there. Let us not be deceived. The slave master, what they left for their descendant have to maintain it. And if what was left for their descendant, what was built for their descendant, was through exploitation, was through starvation, starving other people, not them starving, was through horrible things, were inhumane that they did to Africans. And they are maintaining their forefather legacy. What you think going to happen? They will continue to maintain what their forefather left. And what their forefather left was war, was torture, killing, looting, raping. So what do you think they will do if they are maintaining it? We should know this. And that is why they fail to teach black history in the US. It's on purpose. They got them their team what their forefather left. They do not want to be guilty. They do not want for their children to feel guilty. Because if they teach it, their children will feel guilty. And their children will be the one to fight against what their forefather left. And if their children are fighting against what their forefather left, what is it going to happen? So let us know this. Let's continue. We're almost finished with the video. Conclude about the message we have for them.
If you can promote black people calling black women bitches and whores and have no thought about that, you can promote gangster life, guns and drugs, and you have no thought about that. Yet
again, just know this. If they can promote gangsterism here, they can promote drugs in black community, they can promote issues of conflict, right? Or killing black, right? They bring these guns and whatsoever, right? Why you think if they can promote gangster here, drugs here, don't you think they are the one promoting proxy war in Africa? Because the reason why they promote gangsterism in black community is to continue to exploit them, for them not to think about establishing business in black neighborhood. In our war, if black neighborhood or black community are dangerous, the richest black people that will come from that black community will not go there because they will not want to go in that black community because they fear that they will be killed for what they have achieved and their children will not live there. So they will have to move among the white neighborhood to live there in order to have a better life and for their children to have a better life. And then they will contribute to that community. They will bank in that community. They will they will donate to that community. And they will reject or neglect where they came from. That's why they do these things. So for the resources, the money not to stay here. So it is the same way they do it to the African continent, to African nation. They create a proxy war so that we can focus on development, so that we can focus on our resources. As they continue to loot our resources, that's how they maintain the legacy of their forefather. We must see this and know this. But we have message for the African leaders.
The black community is dying as we speak. How in the hell can I think you're concerned about Darfur when we are dying in Harlem and in Brooklyn and the south side of Chicago? Stop it. Black people, wake up to the deceit. We are not there because we were not invited, and that was not our party.
We're going to take a quick break.
Y'all not know we're going to take a real quick break too.
Yes.
And we're going to come
Right
back with more.
We have to end the video. Let me see if I can post the link. Let me see. I think I still if I have the link. Okay, I just took it out already. Okay, I took the link out already. So what I will do, I mean, after the recording, I will try to post the link in a recording section if anybody need it. But the reason why I let this video to play is a long history, and it's very intense and it's very educative. All right. And you saw like sequence of history that was being taught and time. Okay. The time period, dates, and setting. You see it. We already run out of time, so I don't want to talk again to make the cloud run. But let's see one video here. Let's see one video from the African youth. Adding to what Louis Farrakhan just said. What Louis Farrakhan said, that is a message also from the African youth. This is how we need to take power. And this, let me play this video. I will end my statement, but let me see here.
And the future of our generation. Guys, I have this message. The feedback of our meeting yesterday night, when we are trying to check how we are going to protect our hope. The hope of Africa is AES and the Sahel state. So the life of this president matters a lot to us. And we discuss, and people bring their ideas, and they send this message to all the Sahel state, the president, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. We want to protect you. We are citizens of ECOWAS, but we love you. We understand the mission and your agenda. So that is why we are giving you our whole support. But please, we want to tell you two things. We are going to be bringing more. Number one, please, for your safety, do not travel to any occasion they just call you to. Stop going to different occasions because it's not safe. It's not safe for you. We know how ECOWAS don't like you. We know how African Union are doing everything just to bring you down. Hey, yes, please don't travel to any country they just call you, just go there. No, don't grant any occasion just like that. No, be vigilant, open your eyes. Don't trust too much. Don't trust too much. Please, let security in Burkina, Mali, Niger be so tight. Snipers everywhere, snipers where you are going, bring snipers. Anybody who do anyhow collect, be. We don't care. Who want to go with this can go. If anybody want to make himself a betrayer or a traitor to come and harm our people who we love, AES, they can go. So please let the military be so tight. We want you guys to take your security very, very correct. Anywhere you are going, even the state house, sniper everywhere, okay? And I snipe anybody who come, any mosquito who pass or on call for. Clear them. That is number one. Secondly, they say you please, Ibrahim Traore, Niger president, Mali president, please increase the payment of your soldiers. For God's sake, for your safety, for our own happiness, for our own because we are not okay. We are afraid. We don't want to lose you. We don't want to lose you the way we lose Thomas Sankara. We don't want to lose you the way we lose Gaddafi. We don't want to lose you the way we lose Nkrumah. We don't want to lose you. So we are telling you, please be conscious. Pay your soldier very good salary because they might use, because we hear they have 14 to 15 coup d'etat against just Ibrahim Traore. Why? Because ECOWAS and African Union and the West, they believe Ibrahim Traore is the masterminded of AES. So they want to get Ibrahim so that they can bring AES down. That is their mind. That is their plan. And we, the citizens, we say we are not involved in this their dirty job. We will never do anything harm, anything bad to the president of Burkina or the citizen of Burkina, because they are our brothers and they will ever remain our brother. AES are our family. We will never join our president to do their dirty job. So please, AES, increase the payment of your soldiers so that the West or ECOWAS or AU will not entice them with money. Because the mind of people these days, they can be easily manipulated by money. When you give them money, they can do anything. Please, for God's sake, the soldiers who are fighting for Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, give them enough money, change their life, transform the life of their family, give them good plan good for them, please. Listen to the needs of the soldiers. These are the people who they can use against you. Please, increase their salary, give them good house, buy them car. It's our money. We tell you to buy them car. Give them anything they want so that you can be safe and we can be okay. Because we know the West can give trillion and billion just to take one person down, just to take one leader down in Africa. So now we are aware of this. We know how they do their job, and we are begging you, please, pay your soldier very well. We are going to bring more, because even we right now, we don't sleep. We, the citizens of Africa, we are not sleeping. We are thinking, we are calculating how we can protect AES and protect our continent. And for ECOWAS, I know ECOWAS is jealous. I know, and I'm very sure the reason why ECOWAS is fighting and doing all this is not because they love Africa. It's not because they love democracy. It's not because they want to restore democracy. It's because they are jealous. They are ashamed that they have been on seat for 1975. And now, children that just come today, open another organization and they gain the heart of everybody. So they are jealous, they are ashamed. Yes, we know. So that is why you don't want to join them. That is why you want to ignore that you don't understand the agenda of the AES. That's why you believe because the way they come is not on LD, the way they come is illegal, the way they come is not democracy. We don't care about democracy, Mr. ECOWAS, Mr. I don't know ECOWAS and your group, and we don't care. We the citizens, we say we don't care about democracy. Can you understand that? Because there is nothing democracy in what you all are doing. You refuse to look at we and see our need. You refuse to protect us. You refuse to give us what we ask you. It's never difficult. Give us one currency. Give us one passport. Remove border among ECOWAS. You said no. Even the passport you give us is useless. So now AES is coming and they are doing what we want. And you are not happy. ECOWAS, why are you people wish? You people are wishes and wizards. And the more we celebrate Ibrahim, you people are pain. You feel pain in your soul. You feel pain in your soul. And you will feel this pain so much because we will never stop. If you ECOWAS did not stop working against us, we will never stop celebrating AES. So you can go and hug Transformer. If you don't like Africa again, pack your baggages and go and live with Ibrahim Macron in his country in France. Go pack your properties and go out. You don't want to live on healthy environment, which they are not practicing healthy politics. Take your bag and go to the West. Go and live with them. Those people, they practice democracy. So leave Africa for us. Leave Africa for the youth. We are ready to take over. Because even sometimes, if I say don't insult ECOWAS, when I look at what you people are doing, how can we respect you? The last time, President of Nigeria come unhealthy, he come illegal. And after he come as illegal president, ECOWAS never do anything about it, and ECOWAS give him the chairman of ECOWAS. Now you are telling us coup d'etat is against the law, it's against democracy. Who give you Igbo smoke in ECOWAS? Who give you Igbo smoke? Who give you Igbo smoke? Especially Igbo, who give you in ECOWAS? From your speaker to the chairman to the president, why can't you people sit and do the needful just for once, so that we can be proud of ECOWAS, so that we can love ECOWAS, so that we can cherish and respect you? No, you cannot think because you are old, you will gain respect from us. No, you work for respect. We never just love Ibrahim Traore. Ibrahim worked for it. He risked his life to come into power. And that one is very, very vital for us. And when he come into power, he's still risking his life to do something that we want. So if you want to be respected, ECOWAS, if you want to be respected AES, do the needful. It's not difficult. Stop using our future to borrow money in IMF. And later you come and tell us the money lost. When you are going to IMF, you never involve us. You never console us. You never even you never tell us we want to go and borrow money. You just go and borrow money. When you come back, you say the money lost. And you want to get respect. Go and buy respect in Amazon. Don't be silly, all of you. Don't be silly. I said, let's just sit down and just help ECOWAS to work. ECOWAS, go and work on yourself and stop roaming around all over the world just to bring your brothers down. You are doing everything to bring your brothers down. Your brothers, before Niger, Mali, Burkina are our brothers. Before they go out of ECOWAS, and they will remain forever our brothers. Even we, the citizens of ECOWAS and Africa, we are proud of them. And we are ashamed of you, ECOWAS, for being incompetent for so long. When you change, we'll celebrate you. When you don't change, we'll disrespect you.
Now, that is the message to the African leaders from the African youth. We are ready to disrespect you people. You know, I'm so glad I'm seeing female into this, right? That is to tell you, this generation of Africans who don't really care. And she spoke well. We are citizens of ECOWAS, but we respect the AES over ECOWAS. She spoke very clear. ECOWAS is useless, AU is useless. And we will continue to disrespect you people. And we will continue to protect the AES. Because the AES stands for the interests of Africans. And we will fight to protect them. And that is why we will not allow mainstream media to run any propaganda against them. And that's how we will go against any African leaders who want to exploit and take advantage of their people for the interests of the West. It will not happen. We will break you down. It will not work. And that is our message to the African puppet leader. You are in a high zone. Do not run for presidency if you know you will not be in the interest of your people, because it's not going to be easy for you. And it has been alleged, like what she said in her video, right? The AES should strengthen all their military. Even as the people are also being used as watchful eyes. Because it has been alleged that Nana Akufo-Addo, Ghana, they are hosting the tourists. And this is what the tourists are. While the tourists are receiving medical support, it has been alleged. The reason why I'm using alleged is because I am not the one presenting. Because I have not yet gone to do the research. But where I got that information from is a reliable source. And this person is also from Ghana, a reporter on the issues. And I know she gave reliable information. But again, I am not the one reporting, so I will say allege. So let's watch this video here and see what Nana Akufo-Addo is doing. He will come in. That's why these African leaders, right? They are the enemies. These African leaders that do these things. Never trust them. And never trust Nana Akufo-Addo. The fact that he came and sat down with the enemies to sell his brother against Africans. See what is happening in Ghana, folks. See what is happening. See where the terrorists are. And this is what Abraham Traore has been speaking about. That these neighboring countries are the problem to us because they host the terrorists, they host Western bases. Listen to this, folks, while I'm bringing out the video. Listen to this while I'm bringing out the video because I have the video into my email. So listen to this.
More money out of Africa, and they're calling it tax collectors without borders. And so what they're doing is that they're training hundreds of thousands of tax collectors that aren't loyal to any one country in Africa, and they're providing those as resources so that the African governments can tax their own citizens more effectively. It's basically a 1-2 punch. The first thing that they did through the IMF and the World Bank was they got African countries in a lot of debt, and the cost of servicing that debt started to eat up almost all of the government revenue in many of the African countries. And the Western world came in and said, hey, what if we train tax collectors for you and offer all of our advanced analytical tools that we use to tax people in the Western world? And if you do these tax reforms that we propose, we'll give you even more loans so that you can do your big projects, or maybe you can get that chalet in Switzerland. But unlike the Western world where the tax money might actually find itself circulating in the economy, because they set up these African nations in a lot of debt, the money that they collect from this increased tax revenue is just going to get shot out into the Western world, which is something that even the colonialists of the 1700s couldn't have dreamed would happen. So is there anything that can be done about this? My recommendation is, if you're an African leader, even though it's hard, hit block on the World Bank, hit block on the IMF, and just don't do business with these people in the future. So I'm not trying to be negative. I'm a big believer in Africa, but I certainly want to call out a scheme when I see one. So hopefully if this is of value to you, you'll give me a like and a follow.
Millions of homeowners battle rats and mice, leading to property damage, health risks.
The latest. Thank you for your love and support. Al-Qaeda-linked terrorists have found a safer place in Ghana. According to reports, these terrorists that have been in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, causing havoc, have now found Ghana to be their safest abode. Those that were injured during the attack, according to reports, some of them are in hospitals. They get their fuel, their food, their everything from Ghana. According to reports, northern part of Ghana has become a place that these terrorists are hiding. Some are in the Ghanaian hospitals receiving treatment. So now they operate from Ghana to Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. This is a reason to which we are saying united we stand. If we are all together as one people, what is happening wouldn't happen. We will all work together as a people to do away with the insurgencies. If we sit on national television and always talk about what is happening in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, just simply because they are not under democratic rule, forgetting that these terrorists can equally move to wherever we are, is something else. We have to do away with this democratic rule, democratic elected president, democracy, and live together as one people, come together under one umbrella to fight. What is worrying Niger is a problem to any other African country. Ghana can never be their abode. They can't have Ghana to be their heaven, their safest heaven. That when they are in trouble, they run to Ghana. From there, they get all the treatment, everything that they need to go back and attack Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. This is not possible. This thing must stop.
A region that is turning into a global hub of terrorism. While terrorists for years have been mostly operating in the Sahelian nations that include Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, reports suggest that they have found a safe haven beyond the Sahelian borders. They are now reportedly carrying out their operations from Ghana, one of the few remaining stable democracies in Africa. As per reports, al-Qaeda-linked terrorists in Burkina Faso are discreetly using northern Ghana as a logistical and medical rear base to sustain their insurgency. They are crossing over and coming to Ghana to stock up on food, fuel, and even explosives. And some of them are also reportedly getting medical treatment in Ghana's hospitals. The reports that cite Ghana security officials suggest that while authorities in Ghana are aware of this, they have mostly turned a blind eye to these movements. Why so? Because so far, Ghana has not become a victim of their deadly attacks. Some of these officials have even said that the terrorists won't destroy the place where they sleep. However, they have acknowledged that this crossover risks allowing terrorists to make Ghana their next hub, who have waged decade-long insurgency in its Sahelian neighbors.
I know 20 of you and you're rich as hell. We're going to give you tax cuts.
Donald Trump.
Now, Ghana's ambassador to Burkina Faso has also admitted that terrorists are taking advantage of porous borders between the two nations and are seeing Ghana as a safe haven. However, he denied that authorities are not doing anything about it and are working with Burkina Faso to flush them out. Now, Ghana shares a 600-kilometer border with Burkina Faso, which is at the heart of an insurgency that has killed thousands and displaced millions. Now, as per Global Terrorism Index this year, Burkina Faso has become the country with the highest impact from terrorism, with deaths spiking by 68%. The country has lost control over half of its territory to a pro-Al-Qaeda group known as the JNIM. Terrorist groups are present in multiple nations in the Sahel nations, including Burkina Faso's neighbors of Mali and Niger. And growing frustration over heavy losses in clashes with terrorists triggered coups in all three countries since 2020. Juntas have expelled Western military support and turned to Russia for help instead. Western nations have since refocused their efforts in Benin, Togo, Ghana, and the Ivory Coast, which border the Sahel. Ghana, seen as a strong democracy in Africa, has a close relationship with Western nations, especially the UK and the US. The country will hold its next presidential election on the 7th of December. While Ghana has not witnessed any major terrorist attack, experts say this could be part of the plan of the terrorist groups who do not want to disrupt supply lines and places of rest, as well as not provoking a relatively strong army. However, some members of the Al-Qaeda-linked JNIM group had earlier said that they are aiming to push into other countries of West Africa. And some experts have also said that these terrorists could be recruiting members in Ghana. So it could not be long before Ghana possibly finds itself in the grip of violence and extremism.
In a televised address, the Burkinabe Minister of Security, Mahamadou Sana, gave a detailed, intricate plan that was orchestrated by some citizens of Burkina Faso living in neighboring countries, including Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Nigeria. It seems these people are not happy that President Traoré is in power, and so they decided to put a plan that will remove him from power. According to the report given by the minister, the people involved in orchestrating this plot include some Burkinabe civilians, military personnel, and former military officials, all of whom are supported by Western intelligence agencies. Civil society actors and economic operators in Burkina Faso were also involved in the plot. The Burkinabe minister further revealed that several arrests have already been made and that the arrests took place in Niger. The Minister of Security also revealed that those arrested were interrogated deeply, and they provided crucial information about the depth of the plot and the plans carried out by those in the plot. Now, What you are about to hear is so evil and wicked and will shock you to the bones. Remember how recently Burkina Faso suffered from several attacks from jihadist groups and how these jihadist groups were successful in their attacks? Well, those arrested revealed that those jihadist attacks were orchestrated by their group. Imagine that. According to them, it was part of their plans to contact terrorist groups and work with them to carry out violent attacks against civilians and government institutions. The shocking part is that the recent massacre in Barcelona, the town that houses the last standing military force between terrorist groups and the capital city, Ouagadougou, where more than 309 people were killed and many more injured, was part of their plot. But that's not all. The plotters also revealed that they planned to target the presidential palace, a drone site, the Ouagadougou airport, and military positions in Mangodara before they were caught. This is evil. The Burkinabe military and the government of Ibrahim Traore have been stretched thin, working hard, and finding solutions to the terrorist problem, which has claimed thousands of lives, and yet some.
All right. So like I said, it's alleged, right? Because I didn't do the research to report on it, but I just thought it was wise, not to leave it behind, to bring it, because I might report on it, but it might take a long time because I have to thoroughly do the research and see, where it comes from and think and put all the pieces together. So that's why I say alleged, and I just brought it out so that it can be out there in the public, so that other people too will see and also do research as well, to find out. But like I said again, I believe this person is from Ghana, and I've been following her as well. All right. So you already seen what is going on there again, and this could be true, right? Because we saw what Nana Akufo-Addo have done. Came to the UN. Instead of him talking about African issues, right, or even a proxy war, who are behind the wall, but he came to the UN, to a slave master. He went to the White House, to a slave master house. I mean, everything this guy has done, you see, So could we say this is a lie? No, we believe it just from his action and just from what they have been doing. Just recently, he had his slave master journalist that was in Ghana to interview him, right? To make sure ECOWAS do something, ECOWAS go and invade. So now again, just look at this. Where the terrorists are or the rebels are, right? Are areas that are pushing out the Western interest. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. I mean, think about this. Just see where the terrorists are concentrated. Are areas who are fighting against Western oppression or Western interest. Just look at how it look like. That's what the terrorists are. So that is to tell you who support them. If they see people supporting ECOWAS and told ECOWAS to carry war there, but because Africans stood up and said ECOWAS shouldn't do it, and then African exposed ECOWAS. So don't you think, say these people, they not succeed with ECOWAS, they are the one using the terrorists because they did not succeed with ECOWAS? So if they did not succeed with ECOWAS, they have to go with plan B. And that plan B is to support the terrorists, to fund the terrorists, to go in. It wasn't about peace. It wasn't about the Nigerian. It wasn't about the Burkinabe. It wasn't about the Malian. It wasn't about Africans. Because if it was about Africans, they wouldn't have said, ECOWAS, we will give you ammunition to go away war on those people. Because at the end of the day, it is Africans who are going there to go fight another African. And after African demanded, came out of the secret, even on the media, and after the three nations allied together, and other nations came in and said, no, you can't do that. That's how AU Bagba, that's how ECOWAS Bagba. So if they fund ECOWAS, they wanted to fund ECOWAS to go do that, and that did not happen, they go with the terrorists. Don't you think they will fund the terrorists? Oh, because the last time we reported, Eric Spencer, what did Eric Spencer say? Told the US to sponsor them to go and recolonize Africa. So why do you think these people can do it? Why do you think they can use the terrorists? Why do you think they are not the one funding the terrorists? in our region. You think about these things. They are the one. Clearly, they are the one. Look at the obvious. They are the one. And then they said the tolerance are planning to extend to other African nations. Why? Because any African nation that go against the demand of the West, the tolerance will go there. Can't you see? I mean, look at the logic in there. So if they are planning to take any African nation in the future, that means any African nation that go against the West, the tolerance will go there. So that is why Ghana, how they call it, Ivory Coast, Benin, they are there to host and train these tourists. This is why we have to continue talking so that our people can wake up. So that our people will keep exposing. And I love this girl, how she did it. She's from Ghana. She would have said, no, I'm not putting my country out there. But she's a true revolutionary. She's a true African who want to see the good for Africa. And that's how most of us are. And that's how we will continue to expose. We will use the media and continue to expose these African nations who are failing the African continent, who are betraying the African continent. We will continue to use this media to communicate and to share information that comes from another platform. We'll make sure and put on another platform. We'll make sure and share it. Let it go. And we'll expose them of what they are doing. The issue here is not going to work. Because with this youth, we are ready to expose and to fight. Who want to go back into captivity? Who want to go back into slavery? Who just want to be subjugated? For what? Who just want to live and then be taken advantage of? For what? You have to go to another man's country before you live life? Before you live better life? You have to travel to another man's country to live better life and be humiliated? And then before you know what life is? Come on now. We can do better, Africans, African leaders. We don't want to be angry with you, but if you put in that position, we will do it. You do the right, we'll oppress you. Why can't you understand if the entire African continent are behind Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger? Why can't you understand? Why can't you understand and come to yourself, but if this is what the African continent want, then we should do this. We do not want democracy. Can't you hear? Because democracy is useless. It have done nothing for us. Democracy is worse than dictatorship. Just because the white man came or the European came and said and define dictatorship for us, you think we're going to take it? Democracy is the worst form of government ever in the history of Africa, in the history of black nation. Democracy is the worst form of government ever, worse than dictatorship form of government. And that is it. That is today's message. I will see you all next week. Peace.